across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Has this guy ever had our national interests at heart? He worked with that odious, now struck off former solicitor who was done for fraud, Phil Shiner. Phil Shiner went round paying people, paying Iraqis, paying people to concoct evidence, fake evidence against British soldiers to bring cases against them for alleged war crimes in Iraq. Now, I'm not saying Starmer knew that he was up to that, but he was hand in hand with this guy in this campaign in what's been called a witch hunt against British soldiers. He wrote a chapter in a book by Philip Shiner about how to use the European Convention on Human Rights to prosecute British soldiers who served in the Gulf. Do you think that this guy should be our Prime Minister? You know, there he is over there on this very controversial trip to China, the first time a British Prime Minister has been there for 8 years. Nobody wants him there. You know, is he asking the right questions of Xi Jinping? Is he saying, why have you got 28 underground chambers in your mega embassy in London that I've just allowed you to have? Is he asking them about the Uyghur Muslims who are kept in concentration camps and harvested for their organs? Is he asking them about the human rights issues in China? Is he asking Xi Jinping why Xi Jinping or why China bugged British politicians' phones throughout the years? Is he asking any of these questions, or is he just bowing down, trying to get trade deals and selling our soul to a nation that hates our guts?
Well, the answer to your question is no to pretty much all of those issues. I think you asked me about 12 questions of is he asking, and it's no, 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 and on we go. The only one I would imagine that he will ask purely as a kind of going through the motions, we've got to tick this box, will probably be some sort of formulaic human rights questions potentially about the Uyghurs. This is normal. They do it just so that they can say when they come back that they did raise it. And everybody knows it's just a formality. I don't like the spectacle of him being there at all. You hit the nail on the head in your introduction there, where you said the Chinese don't wish us well. I'm afraid they don't. You know, the Chinese regime is all about the magnification of China. It is essentially a modern colonialist regime, which is really raises the question even more why Sir Keir Starmer would feel comfortable having anything to do with them. After all, this is a man who is so guilty and so ashamed of our past that he thinks we need to give away the Chagos Islands to an ally of the Chinese. I mean, the Chinese are doing the precise opposite. They are building their empire now, not unraveling what little remains of the British Empire. And we hear the big headline from the trip so far is that the British citizens are to get the ability to travel to China for 30 days visa-free. I'm wondering, what is the quid pro quo there? Are we giving the Chinese citizens the ability to come to the UK visa-free for 30 days? Because if so, should be doing precisely the opposite. These people, I'm sure that, of course, ordinary Chinese people can't choose their regime, but the Chinese regime itself, which controls its population, let's be plain about that, is really out to be world-beating. And when officials come to the UK or assets of the Chinese regime, they often come on a mission to take what they can from us.
Indeed, and the reason that Starmer and his acolytes are over there in Beijing, cap in hand, is because they need trade deals, because Starmer and his useless Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, has screwed up our economy. Our economy is in such a terrible state that they need trade deals, so they're overlooking all the problems with China. Oh yes, have this mega embassy. Oh, by all means, spy on us. Oh, have it in the middle of our financial district. Yes, you can have 28 mysterious subterranean chambers where no doubt you'll put prisoners. No problem. Can we have some trade, please? That's why he is there. Let's have a quick look at our Supreme Leader talking to China's Supreme Leader.
We had a very good, productive session with real concrete outcomes, and it was a real strengthening of the relationship, and that's in the national interest because, of course, there are huge opportunities here in China. It's the second biggest economy in the world, and that's why we've got such a big business delegation. A lot of the discussion was about how we open up access for those opportunities, focusing, as I always do, on how is this going to be delivered back in the United Kingdom, how does it benefit people back at home. And we made some really good progress on tariffs for whisky, on visa-free travel to China, and on information exchange and cooperation on irregular migration, focusing particularly on small boats and engine parts.
We'll talk about that ludicrous linking up with China to solve our migrant crisis. Finally, oh yeah, we've called in Beijing. That should stop the boats. Fantastic. What a lot of claptrap that is. But there he is standing there in Tiananmen Square, I think that is, looking about 50 years older than he did when he became Prime Minister.
I think we all do, Kev. I mean, doesn't the entire population?
I think that's a very good point. But it has been pointed out that Mr. Starmer, or Sir Keir, as he likes to be called, suffers from something called oikophobia. Oikophobia is the irrational fear of one's home household surroundings, or more commonly in political discourse, the repudiation, hatred or criticism of one's own native culture and society. As in giving away the Chagos Islands to China's best friend, Mauritius. As in his past, pursuing veteran soldiers who served in Iraq, tying up with that awful man, Phil Shiner, to make veterans' life from the Gulf War a living hell. We're going to talk to a veteran a little later who, she was asleep. She was a colonel from Iraq. She was asleep, and the Shiner's goons, this special force that was formed to track down potential war criminals from our forces, bashed her door down at 4 in the morning and yanked her out of bed. Starmer was up to here with all this. This guy, you know, the more you look at his MO, the more you look at his behaviour, he's a typical lefty. He doesn't like this country, he doesn't like Britain, and he doesn't like our culture.
I think he's completely ill-suited to ever being Prime Minister, but particularly not at this time when our culture needs the precise opposite of this. You know, the Conservatives allowed the kind of shaming of our past to proliferate during their years in power. What was needed is the precise opposite of Keir Starmer. And this scandal over his association with the disgraceful Phil Shiner, the ambulance chasing lawyer that presided over the hounding of British veterans, is really damaging, I think. I mean, I'm not really aware of any veterans that are particularly inclined to vote Labour at the moment anyway. Most veterans utterly despair of what has happened and how depleted our armed forces are. Now, that doesn't make them particularly inclined to any party. I'm not saying they're all gravitating to one party or another, but they're certainly not very, they're pretty deeply disillusioned, if I could put that, with both this Labour administration and the Conservatives. One of the first acts that Conservatives did when they got into power in 2010 was to begin cutting back on the armed forces. So veterans already feel very, very, I suppose, politically alienated. And this is just another blow, but probably reinforces what they all felt they knew about him anyway.
Indeed. Just before you go, a big story, I think, unfolding as we speak in the Midlands. West Midlands Police Force, that ridiculous former Chief Constable Craig Guilford, of course, who prostrated himself to the local Muslim community. What would you like me to do? Oh, you want me to ban Jewish football fans from Birmingham? I'll leave it with me, I'll do that. Then lied about why he did it, lied about his entire MO, and indeed conspired with the Islamists in Birmingham to cover up the truth. Well, he has already been referred to the Independent Office of Police Complaints for investigation, but today it has been revealed that Scott Green, the acting Chief Constable there, has also now referred several other senior officers who were involved in the Maccabi Tel Aviv, the shameful Maccabi Tel Aviv saga. Those fans should never have been banned. Scott Green, the new Chief Constable, the acting Chief Constable, has referred several senior officers there and has said, I've accepted on behalf of the West Midlands Police that organisationally the force overstated some of the evidence as has been pointed out, so on and so forth. He said the direct impact of our actions has been a loss of the trust and confidence from the public of the West Midlands. More specifically, I know we have damaged our relationship with individuals and the Jewish community locally, nationally and internationally. This isn't going away, is it? This is the police force, a shamed police force, now admitting that it was run by a bunch of bunch of cowards, frankly, who just did exactly what the local Muslim community told them at the expense of everyone else.
Yeah, that's right. I suppose there's one sort of positive here. It is quite nice to hear somebody in an official position like that finally actually admitting it. You know, I suppose.
Yeah, it is. No, I agree with that. Yeah.
At least they're kind of now putting their hands up. You know, this whole spectacle has been so damaging to the West Midlands police reputation, and you wonder whether it'll actually sort of snowball to include revelations about other institutions in that part of the UK. There's a real concern about this hardline Islamic influence on areas of our public life. It is a serious, serious concern, and it's growing. And there is a proper organised effort to get Islamic extremists into positions of public authority. And at the same time, you've got people who are not of that way of thinking, but are afraid of that political clout that these groups now have, that they're almost doing their bidding without actually having to agree with the ideology anyway. And you put these things together, and you've got the corroding and poisoning of our public life and the poisoning of decision taking. And that is exactly what happened in the case of the Maccabi fans.
Exactly. This acting chief constable, Scott Green, he does at least finally appear to have got the memo. He is saying, he's saying that the upset that people have felt, the strength people have shown through these difficult times. I praise the courage and resilience of these individuals and their honesty and candour in sharing their experiences with me. He's talking about Jewish people. And then he goes on to say that he had met with members of the Jewish community last week and said he was personally saddened to hear the impact the force's actions had on the public. He certainly means Birmingham's Jewish population. He means the fans from Maccabi Tel Aviv, who should always have been allowed to attend that Europa League game against Aston Villa last November. Craig Guilford, now forcibly retired, now under investigation. I think that guy should face prosecution for what he did. He lied to Parliament. He lied to the public. He made everything up about why he banned Maccabi Tel Aviv. The real reason, as he revealed 2 weeks ago to the Home Affairs Select Committee in Parliament, was that the local Muslim community, or some of them, have said that if you let those Jewish fans in, we will take up arms and we will attack them. He should have at that point said, you're under arrest, you're not allowed to make threats like this, and it is my job to enshrine and protect the right of those football fans to attend that match. Instead, he just buckled.
Yeah, I mean, it was a completely disgraceful episode, and there is still more to come out. It's interesting that these other officers have been drawn into it, be very keen to know what precisely their role was. But it was never going to be about one person, this. There's an absolute sort of dark spider's web here, isn't there? And of course there is, you know, those at the centre of it, but it goes much broader than that. This is such an insight into what is happening to our culture.
It certainly is. Isabel, great to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time. That's Isabel Oakeshott, Talks International editor. Well, as if by magic, next up we're going to talk about Birmingham. There are 20 councillors or wannabe councillors there who are going to stand as independents, basically representatives of the local Muslim community. One of them potentially is a convicted terrorist who went to jail. And I'm going to ask the two leading lights in this organisation what their story is. That comes in 10 minutes. But next up, we're going to talk about a bus driver who did the right thing. He's been sacked. He's driving his bus, and a guy stole a female passenger's necklace and ran off with it. The bus driver stopped the bus. What a guy! And he chased him, and he got the necklace back. Took it back to the lady, gave it back. The thief came back, apparently looking for a fight. Took a swing at the bus driver. The bus driver, sounds like quite a guy, knocked him out with one punch. For that, he's been sacked. I mean, what? I'll talk to Peter Blexley, former Met Police detective, who I know will have some very strong opinions about this. Let me know what you think about that. A bus driver chases a thief, hero bus driver, poor lady on the bus. He chases him. He gets the necklace back, goes back to the bus, gives it to the lady. The thug comes back looking for a punch-up, so the bus driver knocked him out. And he's been sacked. 0344 499 1000. That next, stay tuned.
It's an industry that I love. My dad was a publican from the 60s. My late father, you know, my hero. He's a publican, so I'm a publican because of my dad was a publican. That's the only reason. I do not want to see these pubs closing every day because if you fast forward 5 years' time, we might not have many left. And they've got to stop allowing them to be turned into restaurants or turned into mosques or something
converted
else.
into housing or whatever.
They've got to stop this. We've got to start protecting the pub.
Yeah.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Should a human rights lawyer who participated in a witch hunt against our boys, British soldiers who fought in Iraq to get them prosecuted for war crimes, should a former human rights lawyer like that be Prime Minister of this country right now? Do you trust Keir Starmer to have the interests of this nation at heart? Do you really trust him while he's out there selling our soul to China? 03444991000. Well, look, let's go straight over to my next guest. We need to talk about what looks to be a serious miscarriage of justice. Former Met Police Detective Peter Bleksley, taking a break from his sellout national tour. Welcome, Peter.
Well, if you call just arriving in a hotel in Stockport to perform at the Plaza Theatre tonight a break, I suppose I'll have to swallow that.
Well, that's poor old you, hey? Then you've got to play to a sellout audience. We got Robbie Williams in the studio today, so I'm sort of starstruck. One superstar, now I've got another one, Peter Bleksley. Listen, Pete, I wanted to get your take on this because I know you all have something strong to say about it. This is just beggars belief. Guy called Mark Hare here. Sounds to me like a hero. He's a bus driver working for Metro Line here in London on the 206 route between Wembley and Maida Vale. In June 2024, a guy gets onto his bus, some little thug, barges past this poor lady, grabs her necklace and then runs off the bus, having stolen it. Poor lady is distraught. This bus driver, Mark, gets off the bus and chases him down and says, give me back that necklace. And he gets the necklace back, and then Mark just went back to the bus and said to the lady, here's your necklace, madam. At that point, this little oik, who obviously fancied himself, had come back to the bus looking for, don't disrespect me and all that. The story is that he sort of squared up to Mark and threw a punch at him. Mark avoided the punch and knocked this little thug out with one blow, just punched him to the ground. Mark was fired because of this, because at a tribunal it was alleged that this little thug who'd stolen a necklace had actually come back to apologise to the woman and shake Mark's hand. They have sided with him and fired a guy who retrieved heroically a necklace that had just been stolen from a woman on his bus. I mean, this is a bit abysmally wrong on so many levels, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a few things I'd like to point out here. First and foremost, to any company running a public service vehicle service like buses or coaches, anything like that, please track down Mark Hare here and employ him. The man is a hero as well as a public service vehicle qualified driver. He witnessed this robbery. It's a robbery because force was used to snatch that necklace. So the crime is a robbery. He caught the robber. He retrieved the stolen necklace. The robber then came back towards the bus. Mark, of course, understandably expecting further confrontation, didn't engage in any fight with this man until he threw a punch. And then, as the police ruled, Mark behaved by using necessary and proportionate force in punching the man and then restraining him in the hope that the police would turn up. Mark Hare here did everything brilliantly. In fact, if there's any police services looking for a man who is clearly physically able and able to show restraint, calm, tactical awareness, Mark Hare here needs to be employed by them. He's an absolute hero. There's a second name I want to mention here. Metro Line buses. Boycott them. Don't go anywhere near them, because it was their managers that sat on the original tribunal and ruled that Mark was worthy of the sack. What an utter load of nonsense.
It certainly is, Peter. Now, in your long experience as a police officer here in turbulent London, how many times did you come across a set of circumstances where a thief physically stole something from anybody and then, having done so, came back to apologise and shake the hands of the victim? How many times did that happen?
You'd be surprised how many pathetic, weasel little thieves, once caught, would say, "I'm really sorry. Too late, pal. The handcuffs are on. Get in the back of the van, mind your head." Yeah. Too late. Too late for your apologies. You should think like that before you go out robbing women of necklaces by snatching them from around their neck. Yeah. You weasel, pious, revolting, disgusting robber. Get in a van, you're nicked.
Absolutely. You know, the police said that Mark, you know, you could see this story, that Mark is a hero. What a guy, you know, stopped his bus, chased this guy down, got the lady's necklace back, and that poor lady terribly shook up. The guy comes back, obviously some little toe rag who fancies himself, takes a swing at Mark. Mark knocks him out with one punch. Metro Line has accepted this load of old claptrap, that what this guy, the thief, was actually doing was he thought better of it, and he came back to shake Mark's hand and give the necklace back. That's the story they believe. It's unbelievable, literally.
But it tells you so much about what you need to know about modern management in businesses these days, because it was the managers that presided over Mark's future on this tribunal. The managers of the company in the first instance, who ruled that he'd breached so many of their regulations, he had to be sacked. Before Mark got off that bus and went after the robber, he applied the handbrake and he opened the doors so that passengers could get off. Nobody was trapped inside that bus, nobody whatsoever. He heroically, as a public-spirited person, didn't think about his own risk, about potential danger to himself. No, he went after a robber, stopped him, retrieved the stolen property, and acted superbly.
I couldn't agree with you more. Pete, good luck tonight. Thank you so much. That's Peter Blexley, former Met Police detective. Do you agree with him? Do you agree with me? Mark, the bus driver, should never have been sacked. He should have been given a damn medal. What do you think? 03444991000. Why was he sacked? For doing the right thing, for doing the decent thing. He's a hero, not a villain. 03444991000. As I said earlier, after the break, we're going to go up to Birmingham and talk to two wannabe Muslim councillors who are plotting to get 20 Muslim councillors into that great city, independent councillors, and I'm going to ask them why they're doing that. So that next, stay tuned.
Across the UK. On DAB+. On YouTube. On your mobile. And on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I'm going to talk now to two founder members of an organisation called the Independent Candidates Alliance. This is a group dedicated to putting up, I believe, 20 candidates for the local elections in Birmingham to become councillors. And I want to ask them what the plan is. So a warm welcome to Ahmed Yaqub. We've met before. Ahmed, good to see you again. And welcome to Shakil Afsar. Welcome, both of you.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin. First of all, I did see your intro before this when you said we're two wannabe Muslim councillors.
Well, you are, aren't you?
We're not wannabe Muslim councillors. We're not even standing.
You're wannabe councillors.
Get your facts right, please.
Well, okay, so but you want to put 20 councillors into Birmingham, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. Just to add what Ahmed Yaqub said a moment ago, we actually came second in these respective constituencies.
I'm not criticising your plan. I just want.
I'm just adding a bit of context, Kevin. So at the last general election, we actually came second in these areas. If we were to stand, Kevin, we would quite easily win these seats. But what we have decided to do, because our political system within Birmingham especially, and moreover over the UK, has been completely misrepresenting our people. So we are actually floating around 66 candidates in the Birmingham area who will be independent candidates and will be robust candidates, like my dear brother Shahid Butt, who's standing in my constituency.
Well, let me ask you about him.
We're standing in my constituency.
Well, let me ask you about him. I mean, he is a convicted terrorist who went to prison for that. He was jailed in Yemen in 1999 for his part in a terror plot which involved associating with armed groups, plotting murder and destruction, and owning weapons. Do you think he's a proper person to become a councillor in Birmingham?
Well, Kevin, to be honest with you, the fact that you are relying on a country called Yemen and its judicial system, when it was in fact your same channel who was saying completely different things when it comes to situations with the Houthis. So I absolutely believe the innocence of Shahid Butt. He was in a kangaroo court at the time. Even Amnesty International at the time recognized that this was a sham trial, and these people were being vilified for being British citizens, because as you know, at the time there was quite a lot of political conflict with the British, and Shahid Butt unfortunately was at the wrong place at the wrong time, and within his naivety was sucked into something. But Kevin, just to add, why are we not talking about what Shahid Butt has done for
Well, if he did
the
that,
last 30 years?
the thing is,
What
though,
he has done for the last 30 years. He has worked for the Home Office.
Hang on, Shakil. If he had committed this crime in Britain, of course, he wouldn't be able to stand. I mean, there is a problem. Let's bring you in, Ahmed, if I can. Shakil just said you're going to put up, I thought it was 20, but you're going to put up more than 60 candidates. Are they all Muslims?
No.
Okay.
They're not all Muslim candidates.
Okay.
We have candidates from various faiths, various backgrounds.
Got any Jewish
yes,
candidates?
we have two Jewish candidates. We have Christian candidates. We have a Sikh candidate. We have
atheist candidates.
Candidate. So it's a mixture.
Atheist candidates as well, yeah. Okay,
It's
sorry,
a mixture.
Akin. Yeah. So you would, of course, you would deny that this is part of an Islamification process, would you?
Of course not. This is not part of Islamification process at all. And those who say that it is that should be ashamed of themselves, just because a few people with brown faces have come forward on the political spectrum and caused a massive earthquake, a political earthquake in West Midlands and beyond. It does not mean that we are trying to Islamify the West Midlands. No, not at all.
What's this earthquake?
I've not mentioned
Well,
Islam.
look, Ahmed, what is this earthquake about then?
Faith once.
Okay, all right, fair enough. What's the earthquake about then?
Kevin, who turn around and keep mentioning.
Yeah, you're just trying to pick a fight. Ahmed, you're trying to pick a fight. I'm trying to ask you questions. Don't pick a fight. I'm trying to find out what this is all about. Ahmed, tell me then, what is this political earthquake? What is happening? Explain it.
A political earthquake took place in May of 2024 when I took 69,000 votes on a independent ticket, which has never
against
happened
Shabana
in the
Mahmood,
history of UK, political history of UK. It has never happened. I took on political parties like
Shabana Mahmood, you halved her majority, didn't you?
I beat them.
Well, you didn't beat her.
That's in the general
election. You didn't beat Shabana Mahmood, but you put up a very good fight. I was impressed.
You're not letting me talk.
Well, yeah, I know, because you're not letting me talk.
Okay,
go on then.
Let me talk.
Okay.
West Midlands mayoral election.
Take it away.
69,000 votes when I beat your party, Reform. I'm after suspicion that you support Reform. I don't know. I'm sorry if I'm making accurate.
I don't support anybody, Ahmed.
I beat the Reform Party in West Midlands as a one-man band. I beat the Green
I was impressed.
Party.
I was impressed.
Green Party in West Midlands as a one-man band. I beat the Liberal Democrats in West Midlands as a one-man band. So that was the political earthquake, Kevin.
Okay. Look, congrats. You did do very well, and you halved Shabana Mahmood's majority in the general election, and for that's very admirable. I'm impressed. I'm very impressed. Well, so let me go back to you, Shakil. Ahmed's success in these elections and the success you hope to achieve come the local elections with your Independent Alliance, Candidates Alliance. Why is this happening? What is it that you're trying to achieve exactly? Why are you, if you like, going against the political tradition, of Tories, Labour, and so on and so forth? Why are you trying to usurp the main parties? Tell me.
Well, I'm actually glad that you asked me that question, and you kind of answered it yourself. It's the fact that you say political tradition. Our communities have been in a position where they have been kept docile from politics. Labour Party has been putting candidates within our constituencies that cannot read English, that cannot write, and cannot speak. The fact that we have been on the brunt end of Labour's downfalls, and to be quite frank with you, the fact that you're putting up candidates in our constituencies, some of which at the moment cannot fluently speak English.
So you want to represent
I haven't finished, Kevin. I haven't finished. I listened to you, Kevin.
All right, go carry on.
So the question you said is, why are we starting this Independent Candidate Alliance, the ICA? We have started this because we believe that our communities need accurate representation from people who live within the constituencies and not men who are wearing fancy suits sitting in London. So we believe that the power, for example, you have Your Party, you have the Green Party, they claim that they are grassroots organizations. Well, I challenge every single one of them to come to our grassroots and see if Shakil Afsa and Ahmed Yaqub are more in touch with what the community want, or what the Your Party, Green Party, and any other party says.
Well said, Shakil. Ahmed, do you think it's a good thing that you need to represent so many people in a British city who can't speak English? Do you think that's a good thing?
No, I mean
I'm referring to the councillors.
I'm
referring to the councillors, Kevin.
Hold on, I know words. So what Shakil was referring to were the people who have been representing us for years.
Okay.
Labour would pick up candidates and make them councillors on Labour tickets who can't even talk English properly, so they were misrepresenting us. Okay. Our candidates are proper, well-spoken individuals who can converse with the community, be it in English, be it in their mother tongue, but they can converse properly with their community.
Shouldn't their mother tongue be English if they're living here?
Some people
shouldn't their mother tongue be English if they live here?
Other countries and have fled from wars and are staying now, wars that were created by the United Kingdom and are now staying in the United Kingdom.
That's not a very patriotic thing to say. Why do you blame the United Kingdom?
Sorry to interrupt you. Kevin, it's the same way you said shouldn't they be speaking English, is the same way when the British invaded the Asian subcontinent, we were asking shouldn't they be speaking Mirpuri, or shouldn't they speak in Punjabi? So the fact is this, that we are a diverse society who has been built on migration. We have been built on immigration. So look, we are here to advocate.
All right.
The ICA is here to advocate for every single person, regardless
Even
of their
you will
caste,
advocate
color,
for
or
you as well, Kevin.
Now you're interrupting each other. Now, look, let me ask you both a question separately. First of all, you, Shakil.
Your sound's a bit, I think we're a bit back. That's why we're probably crossing.
That's all right, okay. Do you think that the West Midlands former Chief Constable, Craig Guilford, do you think it was right that he was forced to retire after banning Jewish football fans from Maccabi Tel Aviv from attending the game against Aston Villa last November? Do you think that it was right he had to go because he kept lying about the reason?
Would you like me to answer that?
Yes, I'm asking you, yeah.
Yeah, so absolutely. I believe that the fact that he's been forced to retire just shows you the powerful Zionist lobby that exists within our society.
So you don't think he should have been...
I'm answering the question, Kevin.
All right,
I'm answering the question. So this is an individual who has autonomy to make his decision, but the fact that the Zionist lobby has not only made him forcefully retire at a tender age of 50-something, the fact that the Zionist lobby is now U-turning on giving the Home Secretary...
What is it you don't like about Zionists? You don't like Zionists? You don't like Zionists?
I will answer that question.
Okay, answer. What don't you like about Zionists? What don't you like about Zionists,
Shakil? You ask questions on questions, Craig. I'm answering about...
Okay, answer that one.
Is a respected police officer within our...
No, he isn't, not anymore, and he's not respected.
We respect him. The people on the...
Well, you respect him, nobody else does.
I challenge talkTV to walk around my area and say whether they respect Chief Constable Craig Guilford or not.
Yeah, I think we might know why. Can I ask you, Ahmed, what are your feelings about that ban of Jewish football fans? Shouldn't the police have enshrined the right of Maccabi Tel Aviv fans to attend a football match? Why were they banned?
Well, I think the police should be autonomous from central government. That's the starting point. That's the starting point. If you make someone a chief constable, then their decision should be final. But
do you think it was the right decision?
If Craig Guilford made that decision, whatever.
But do you, Ahmed, do you think it was the right decision? Was it the right decision? Answer the question.
I'm coming to that.
Okay.
Whatever decision that Craig Guilford made, whatever intelligence he had, the one thing is factual, that the Maccabi Tel Aviv fans did cause mayhem in Amsterdam, did go around saying that they wanted to rape Arab women, did go around chanting Ole,
You say that's a fact, do you? You say that. Were you there? Were you there?
Well, there's reports.
You're making it up, mate. You're making it up, aren't you? You're making it up. You're just making it up.
So that's a fact.
You're making it's not a fact, Ahmed. You're making it up.
Hold on, you're not letting me talk again. So them fans.
It's because you're talking utter rubbish. That's why.
Was a good thing. Was a good thing. Them fans not coming into our city was a good thing.
So me and Shakil both laughing here.
I'm laughing at you, Kevin.
Yeah, I know you are. I'm laughing at you too as well. But Shakil, last question to you. Was it the right decision to ban Jewish football fans from Aston Villa? Why do you think that decision was made? Should they not have had the right to follow their team to see them play against Aston Villa?
Okay, firstly, Kevin, are you going to let me answer this question in its whole entirety?
Yeah.
Okay, so I believe that any Israeli football team should be banned and any Israeli fans should be banned. The same way, Kevin, Russian teams are banned and Russian fans are banned.
Why? Explain why.
I haven't finished.
Okay, you will explain why though, won't you?
Why is it that when Russian aggression constitutes banning Russian fans and Russian teams, but Israeli aggression doesn't mean, and in fact, the Zionist lobby furthermore suspends the chief constable, destroys his career, then sends him to another watchdog. We see everything, and the people of Birmingham see everything. This is why the ICA is here to represent those people who can see what is happening with our politics, our politicians, and more importantly, the Zionist lobby.
Okay, so you don't like Zionists and you think all
No, I
is...
detest them. I detest them, Kevin.
Okay, well, I can see that. Listen, guys, Ahmed Yaqub, good to see you again, Ahmed, and a pleasure to meet you, Shakil. Let's talk again, eh? That is, ladies and gentlemen, the Independent Candidates Alliance, Ahmed Yaqub and Shakil Afsar. They don't like Zionists. They think Craig Guilford, the lousy chief constable, should never have had to be forcibly retired from his job. They think it was the correct decision to ban Israelis and Jewish people from football. In fact, they want Israeli teams and sports people banned from all events. What are your thoughts? 0344 499 1000. Will you vote for the candidates, the 60 candidates that this organisation is putting up, the Independent Candidates Alliance, for the local elections in Birmingham? I say that is the Islamification of Britain's second city. It is underway, folks. Both Ahmed and Shakil deny that. Frankly, I don't believe them. What do you think? 0344 499 1000. When we come back, we're going to talk to a veteran from Iraq who was hounded by the witch hunt against our soldiers, which was participated in by our current Prime Minister, Keir Starmer. That next. Stay tuned.
It's an industry that I love. My dad was a publican from the 60s, my late father, you know, my hero. He's a publican, so I'm a publican because of my dad was a publican. That's the only reason. I do not want to see these pubs closing every day, because if you fast forward 5 years' time, we might not have many left. And they've got to stop allowing them to be turned into restaurants or turned into mosques or something
converted
else.
into housing or whatever.
They've got to stop this. We've got to start protecting the pub.
Yeah. Every Monday to Wednesday, midnight until 1, it is Talkback.
Such a shortage of housing. You've got landlords, right, are taking that on board, and it's an absolute disgrace.
Your stories, your opinions, it is your chance to have your say. So they're literally just being rented out as hotels, basically.
Yeah, rent a load of hotels.
Well, that
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Right, sorry, I ran over a bit there while I was engaged in that entertaining conversation with our two Muslim friends from Birmingham. Letting me know what you think about those guys. 03444991000. Now, this is a very serious story. Let's go straight over to my next guest, because she experienced what happened in this witch hunt against our brave soldiers who fought in Iraq in the Gulf War. Sir Keir Starmer, or Keir Starmer as he was then, we now know worked hand in hand with the dreaded, the awful, odious Phil Shiner, a disgraced lawyer, now struck off who launched this witch hunt against our veterans to prosecute them historically for alleged war crimes. China went round paying people to make up information. He was convicted of fraud and struck off. Keir Starmer, I'm not saying he knew about that, but he worked with this guy, and he actually wrote a chapter in a book by Phil Shiner, a 2008 book entitled The Iraq War and International Law, in which Keir Starmer wrote a chapter saying we can use the European Convention on Human Rights to convict, to prosecute veterans, soldiers, British soldiers who allegedly committed war crimes in Iraq. That's what our Prime Minister was spending his time doing in 2008. Do you trust this man to have our national interest at heart? I sure as hell don't. Makes it even worse that he's been down in China, doesn't it? Our mortal enemy, cap in hand. Let's talk to someone who knows what this is all about. Retired Army captain who served in Iraq, Rachel Webster. Welcome to the show, Rachel.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for inviting me on to share my story and that of many veterans.
Well, your story, if I can just interrupt slightly there, Rachel, your story is shocking. As I understand it, you were arrested due to this nonsense. The Iraq Historic Allegations team banged on your door and 4 in the morning hauled you out of bed and arrested you for alleged war crimes that, of course, you didn't commit. And what are your... Well, tell us that story, but also your feelings about the fact that has now emerged that, in a way, Keir Starmer was involved in all of this.
I'd like to firstly address that, if that's okay.
Yeah, that first, yeah, sure.
I think, like many veterans I've spoken to over the past few days, we're all deeply saddened and troubled to learn that the Prime Minister was involved in any way, shape or form with China. I think the Office of Veterans Affairs now need to acknowledge this and do something about it, to rebuild the trust amongst the veteran community, which they are appointed to serve. And if they don't, the Armed Forces Covenant is well and truly broken. And just before I finish on this point, you know, how can the armed forces, as it stands to date, have any confidence and trust in the government, which has shown such duplicity with the veteran community and their continued persecution in pursuit of lawfare? Not just what happened in Iraq, but more recently Northern Ireland and that of the Special Forces community in Afghanistan and Northern Ireland. It's a travesty and it needs stopping.
Exactly right. Now, you did eventually receive an apology and compensation for your wrongful arrest. And just as a backdrop to that, Sir Keir Starmer, or Keir Starmer as he was then, worked with his then human rights lawyer friend Richard Hermer, now Lord Hermer, the Attorney General, with this guy Phil Shiner, this odious man who paid people to make up stories about people like you so you could be prosecuted for war crimes you didn't commit. The then lawyer Keir Starmer and Richard Hermer were involved in a prosecution that was seen as a test case for this. They led this lawfare crusade against our soldiers who fought in Iraq. A very, very troubling part of our Prime Minister's personal history. Tell us what happened to you, though, Rachel, that day they banged on your door.
I'll just correct you, yeah, as I go along. I hadn't actually been accused of anything. The purpose, which I later found out, was to get me to speak about an ex-colleague. Okay. So they'd made contact with me in the October and introduced themselves as IAT investigator and said, would you be willing to give a statement against X? I said, I have nothing of an evidential nature to give. And at that point, the conversation ended and he followed it up with an email and said, if you do refuse, we can force you. And I said, well, okay. At that point, I'll engage with a solicitor. And that was in the October of 2013. I'd only been out of the military a few months. I was very excited about starting a new career. And it just put a really black cloud over everything. And then on January...
Sorry, did they bang on your door at 4 in the morning? Iraq Historic Allegations team. Did they...
Yes,
Yeah, go on.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I think there might be a slight delay.
I interrupted you. Did they wake you up in the middle of the night to arrest you?
Well, yes. At 6 o'clock in the morning, I received a loud knock at the door. I obviously was quite startled. I was debating actually whether to get a run, go for a run, and the wind was whirling. I thought, no, I'll just stay in bed. And I went, who is it? And they said, oh, it's Navy police. So I ran down the stairs, put my dressing gown on, ran down the stairs, because my immediate thought was that some soldier had maybe put me down as his next of kin or some connection.
Yeah.
So I was panicking because I'd only just left the military, and I thought
what did
that
they
was
say
the
to
reason.
you? What did they say to you?
So I opened the door ajar, and literally 6 men pushed their way into my door, and at the same time basically said, we are arresting you for misconduct in public office. And as you can imagine, I went from, it was just a flash bang moment, and obviously I won't repeat, I was quite vocal, and I was just sort of saying, get out of my house, you have got no right of arrest on me. There was no one who was. I asked for a Met policeman to be present. They said it doesn't make any difference. I said, of course it does. I'm a civilian. I'm not a member of the armed forces. And this went on, and there's a character that I'm sure you're of the age that you can remember, the Bill.
Of course.
I likened the IAT investigator, the civilian ex-policeman, to Burnside.
Yeah, Burnside, I remember him. Yeah, so a real tough guy. Listen, Rachel, listen, we'll have to talk again because I'm coming up to the news.
Okay.
But, it's quite clear that you and so many of your colleagues were submitted to a grave miscarriage of justice, and it's extremely worrying to learn that at the heart of this was a man who was to become our Prime Minister, Keir Starmer. We'll have you on again and we'll have a proper chat, but really good to talk to you, and respect and thank you for your service. I mean that. Thank you very much. Rachel Webster there, retired Army captain. We need to get her on again to tell that story. But you've got the bare bones of it. That's astonishing, isn't it? A brave soldier, served in Iraq, bang on the door, you're under arrest. Because people like Keir Starmer thought that our veterans committed war crimes in Iraq. They didn't. Outrageous. Next up, much still to come.
Across the UK. On DAB+. On YouTube. On your mobile. And on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Mixed messages about my explosive chat with our two Muslim friends from Birmingham. Denise says, please shut these two horrible men up. Another one, this is Tim in Harrogate. Well done, sir. I take my hat off to you. Now we know what we're up against. Another says, you know, don't give these two any airtime in future. I think it's important to. It's important to give those guys airtime because now we know what they're up to. They say, we thought it was 20 boroughs that they were going to put councillors up in, potential councillors in Birmingham. They say more than 60. They say, oh, they're not all Muslims. Trust me, nearly all of them will be. That, folks, in my view, is the Islamification of Birmingham in process. That's why I talk to them. I want to know what you think about what they said. We hate Zionists, ban Israeli teams from everywhere. Oh, you know, the police were quite right. You know, they didn't want Jews in Birmingham because they're Islamists. You know, I mean, that's ridiculous. Like, this is Great Britain. Oh, should we quickly play a voice note from Alan on that very issue?
I'm absolutely disgusted on that. What I've just watched with the two guys, Yaqub and the other, stating that everybody in Birmingham will tell you how they feel about, they feel it was right for banning Israeli fans. I'm disgusted. They don't speak for me. The fans shouldn't have been banned, and the officer in charge, he should have been fired. He was a liar. He kept trying to say that he was telling the truth and it was factual, blah, blah, but it was all like rubbish. So basically, he doesn't speak for me. I'm from Birmingham and he doesn't speak for me. So.
Thanks, Alan. If you're from Birmingham, did those two guys speak for you? As I said, I think it's important to give them airtime so we know what they're up to. 03444991000. Now let's go on to another very important story. This is the story really of parents' fears. Now, back in the autumn last year, when I was doing the evening show, The Political Asylum, with my brilliant then producer, now our sort of star reporter, Samara Gill, we covered the protests by parents living of children in this huge primary school near Heathrow Airport. It's more than 630 kids go there, massive school. Now, they are on one side of the motorway, the M4 motorway, near Heathrow Airport. There's a tunnel, a pedestrian tunnel underneath the M4. There's a massive migrant hotel on the other side of the motorway. Every day, we'll show you some footage in the way. The migrants come under there and they march their way to the cherry tree or the cherry lane. So there they are there. Oh, look at them. You're going to see a lot of them, lots of them here. Look at that. This is what happens every day. They walk under the tunnel and they make their way to Cherry Lane Primary School where there's some grass and they hang around outside there. The kids are terrifying. You're going to see some shocking, well, in my view, surprising footage. You know, there's one. Now, look at this. Have a look at this. There they are, sitting outside the school, smoking shisha pipes. The kids, many of the kids are terrified. Some of the local parents have taken their kids out of that school for fear of what might happen. I'm going to talk now to a parent there, but also we're going to talk to a parent down in Crowborough, where the residents fear they're about to get exactly the same problem. Given that something like 547 young men, migrants, asylum seekers are being moved into the local army training centre there as we speak. We've seen those passionate protests over the past few months by the people of that East Sussex town to no avail. They're getting the... So we're going to talk to, well, first of all, a warm welcome to someone who's had on the show before. She's a concerned parent. I think she's a grandmother, actually, of kids at that school. Wendy Louise, a mother in West Drayton. Welcome to you, Wendy.
Hello there.
Good to see you again. And also, down in Crowborough, Shana. Shana's going to join us. Are you there, Shana?
I am. Hello.
Hi. Thanks very much, both of you, for joining us. Well, look, let me ask you, I mean, I've set the scene there. I don't know if you were watching there, Shana, but Wendy and her fellow parents of kids at the Cherry Lane Primary School have had a nightmare. The migrants, nothing to do. They go under the tunnel, under the M4, and they just hang around outside the school, terrorising the kids, terrorising the local community, to be honest with you. And some parents have taken their kids out of the school for that reason. I believe, Shana, that now you're having the same situation imposed on you with your local army camp. You've taken your kid, is it your daughter, out of the local school?
I've actually got 6 children. I've got 4 in a primary school and 2 in a secondary school.
Okay.
Both very close to each other. And yes, I've taken them out of school, and I've raised concerns with both schools, and they haven't got back to me at all.
And those 2 schools, so you've got 2 kids at the secondary school, 4 at the primary, is that right? And those schools are very adjacent to your Army Training Migrant Centre camp, yeah?
Yeah, all within walking distance.
And I mean, I presume, so tell me why you've, I mean, I can imagine why you've done that, but you articulate it. Tell me why you've decided to take your kids out of those 2 schools.
Well, as you've shown the footage there, I've seen it firsthand through that footage on social media and stuff. And when we've put, you know, these things towards the school and said, you know, what are we going to have in place when it hits our town, that I've had no correspondence from that. They seem to think that just having a lockdown in school, where they tell the children that in case there's a loose dog in the playground, having a lockdown in school is okay, and that will keep them safe. There's an alleyway that parents and children have to use to get to and from the schools, and there's no staff monitoring it. There's no policing. All our police in Crowborough, well, they're not even from Crowborough police station. They're all down at the camp surveilling that for their safety, not for our safety, not for our children's safety. So yeah.
So Shana, the headline here is, you're terrified for your children's safety.
Yeah, most definitely.
Well, Wendy, you've got experience of this. I think is your grandkids go to Cherry Lane? Is that right?
No. I haven't got any children in that school. My grandchildren, or my granddaughter, goes to a secondary school.
Okay.
However, I'm just involved with.
Yeah, you've been involved in the protests, a very passionate protest. Now, that story that we reported last year, and we spoke to you quite regularly, didn't we? Is that still going on? Are those migrants still coming and hanging around outside the school? Yeah.
They are, but we've managed to the Crown Plaza, which was the holding hub for the UK, which they would go
the hotel, the Crown Plaza Hotel, the big one.
Yeah, that's closed down.
Oh, so they're not there anymore? Well,
no, they're still here. We've still got another 3 big hotels that are full with them. But
one down, 3 to go.
I know, it's literally, that's what it's like. But the Crown Plaza, I mean, we put a lot of work in there. I mean, we have groups of men that have volunteered that will walk the streets at night to make sure, because they cut through housing estates when they come into our town. So we've got a team of them that go out to push them back, to say you're not to come through here, because obviously you've seen the videos of where they were hanging about.
It's extraordinary. It's extraordinary, those videos.
It's just ridiculous, and obviously, you know, when we say anything, it all goes up in arms. And that one that you showed, they were actually being escorted back by the police because they turned up to go and get free food, a food bank. Now, even though and I think as well in that place was to pick up their mobile phones and laptops.
Oh, well, of course,
that's the one there. They go and get the SIM cards and stuff from there, and food. That was at the Bell Farm. So yeah, that there, because obviously there was uproar, so the police came and escorted them back.
So you're still, though, Wendy, absolutely not being listened to when you tell the authorities that you fear for your children's future, their safety, because I know that there are, just like Shana, there are parents at Cherry Lane Primary School who've done the same. They've taken their kids out of the school because they're terrified for their safety just to go to school. I mean, that's wrong on so many levels, isn't it?
Yeah, it is so wrong on so many levels. But I think what we need to really focus on now is the failure of social services. I think the assessment that's been happening is that we're going back to the Rochdale way of things, where professionals are frightened of being called a racist. We've got men that are posing as minors that are being signed off as men. So potentially what we face now is these men going into secondary schools, which is just going to bring a whole new ball game.
Yeah,
you've got to think 50, I think it's 53,279 have absconded.
Yeah, that's true. They're on the run around the country. Yeah. Shana, can I come back to you? To your knowledge, are there any other parents? I mean, there must be loads of parents who are very worried for their kids' safety. Any other parents taking their kids out of the school or considering doing it?
I think there's a lot of people that have taken their children out of school, a lot considering it, and a lot that have put in place that children aren't allowed to leave the school. One of our primary schools, has access to the church, which is only across the road, things like that. And a lot of parents have said, under no circumstances are they leaving the school. So yeah, a lot of stuff.
Shana, how many, last time we reported on this, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, overnight, under the cover of night, they bust in the first 27 asylum seekers. And there's going to be more than 540 of them, and all of them will be young men with nothing to do all day. How many more, are there many more now in the camp?
We haven't been told anything, and we didn't get told that it was going to be happening there and then. Well, we got given a few hours' notice that it was open for them, and then within a few hours, the first 27 came in. But there's been taxis coming and going, and I think there has been a few minibuses. So either they're taking them out on day trips or they are bringing more in.
As I understand it, you tell me about the geography of this, but where that camp is, isn't there sort of like a bus stop that the kids all use, so they'll be very close to the camp? Is that right?
Yeah, there's a bus stop on both sides of the road, going out of Crowborough and coming back into Crowborough, or going towards Tunbridge Wells area. And again, they'll have full access to viewing people there. And there's like a wooded area just behind one of the bus stops, which is worrying in itself as well.
Yeah.
And a brand new housing estate there on the camp.
You must feel completely abandoned by this government, because, there have been these passionate protests by the people of Crowborough week in, week out for months now. Massive marches. Last Sunday, huge gathering. And yet nobody at the Home Office listened to you. Nobody consulted with you. And what you would have told them, I'm assumed, is we're worried for our kids.
Yeah. There's been no consideration whatsoever for anybody, let alone, for our children who can't have a voice. They've their future. This is their future, and there's what's left of it.
Yeah, it's really bad. Wendy, what advice, if any, what advice would you give Shana?
I mean, for me, I think when all these protests started, we all was precious about our local areas, our own areas, and we wanted to push it and do the protests. And I think what needs to start happening now is we all need to join over the UK. We all need to support each other's areas. And I think that's extremely important to do, because there's a part of us here that the Crown Plaza, we've got rid of them. Where have they gone? We've potentially, from our battles,
Crowborough, probably.
Who knows?
It could well be, It could well be.
We've now pushed that to get them out of our area, but put them somewhere else in the UK, which doesn't make us feel. We're really happy, because it's given us a little bit of release. Not seeing so many grey tracksuits. We still see them. Don't get me wrong; they're still here. But that real big crowd of them, but we all need to be supporting one another. It is so important that we pull together and we support every person's place.
Exactly right. You
to
two,
get this out there.
Yeah, you two are part of a national story. This is happening all over the country, and you know, Wendy meet Shana, Shana meet Wendy, work together. Wendy's exactly right. Wendy's exactly right. Listen, well, both of you, great to talk to you again, Wendy, and Shana. Thank you so much for coming on. I think you've made a very brave stand, and I applaud you. I admire you, and come back on and talk to us soon about what happens, because I think you know, more and more migrants are going to go into that camp, and I'll be interested to see your response to that. Thank you so much for coming on, Shana. Great to see you again, Wendy. Well, look, shall we take a call? What have we got lined up? Well, okay, we'll take a break. We'll take a couple of calls, and then our reporter, Samara Gill, who actually went to West Drayton, where Wendy and her fellow local people had to suffer these migrant invasions, if you like. She was there. She's been to Crowborough. So we'll get the overview of Samara Gill, who knows those areas, both those areas very well, and knows the local people there. We'll talk to Samara next. So we'll come back in a minute.
Really, we understand that the Prime Minister and his team have all got burner phones, but
that's
not using
standard practice.
Yeah, that's practice.
Every time you go to China.
Was your phone bugged, do you believe, by the Chinese?
Well, I have some evidence that my phone was interfered with, possibly not by the Chinese. When I was in the Foreign Office, I haven't heard anything apart from what I've read in the press about the Chinese specifically.
You haven't asked the security services yourself?
I haven't, no.
If you have a security detail, I mean, with the Met, you know, surely someone could ask.
Every Monday to Wednesday, midnight until 1, it is Talkback.
Such a shortage of housing. You've got landlords, right, have taken that on board, and it's an absolute disgrace.
Your stories, your opinions, it is your chance to have your say. So they're literally just being rented out as hotels, basically.
Yeah, rent a load of hotels.
Well, that has really...
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Now, we have got a voice note here. Let's listen to it. This is Jay on Birmingham. We had those two wannabe Muslim councillors. I'm not sure they want to stand, but they're putting up, they say, more than 60 candidates, independent candidates, to stand in the local elections at Birmingham. They say they're not all Muslim, but trust me, most of them will be. The question on the table is this part of the Islamification of Britain's second city. This is Jay on Birmingham.
Just listening to the show, and I tried to hold it together until they let their true colours show. The second they mentioned that the UK have been invading other countries and then Zionism, it just goes to show their true colours. They're not in it and being all inclusive to other faiths and backgrounds, and doesn't matter where you come from, it's all about grassroots. It's not at all. They've just literally let their colours show. Great show, mate. Keep it going. I'm howling here in the car on the way to work.
Thank you, Jay. Yeah, they did show their colours. Yeah, just let them speak. And this is Leon again on Birmingham.
Shaq and Ahmed so rude, hence why they shouldn't even be anywhere near flipping councils. You can see by them, they're just obviously defending terrorism, making stories up and against Jewish people. Unbelievable. What has this country come to?
Thank you, Leon. I hear you. Now, we'll get back to that story later and let me know what you think. You saw that interview with our two Muslim friends, 03444991000. Now, I just spoke to long-suffering representatives of two communities who have had hundreds of migrants foisted upon them, asylum seekers, suddenly in the local hotel. In the case of Crowborough, that the army training camp turned into an asylum seeker accommodation centre. There will be more than 540 young men in that place, and there are only 22,000 residents in the small East Sussex town of Crowborough. We spoke to Sharma, one of the mums there. She's so frightened. She's taken all 6 of her children out of the local schools, which are so close to the army camp. Now, someone who's been to both of these areas and has been reporting on both of those situations brilliantly is my former producer. I don't know what we call her now. I think reporter's a bit too lowly. What should we call her? Superhuman superwoman. How about that?
Wow, I've been called much worse by you, Kev.
Yeah. It's Samara Gill. Hi, Samara.
Hello.
What shall we call you?
Yeah,
you don't like being called a reporter, do you?
I don't like really being called anything. Just it's.
Well, even the names that I used to call you.
Well, you know, that's all in the past. No, look.
It's not.
Not anymore. But the thing is, that was a really harrowing interview. I mean, actually, when I was listening to it, I was thinking about the ECHR, weirdly, and Article 8.
Yeah.
Right to a family life, which often gets brought up in all these ridiculous cases that we keep seeing. And
what about their right to a family?
What about their right to a family life? What about Shana's right to send her 6 children to school? I've actually been looking on her Instagram page, and she's posting that she's homeschooling them. It looks like a lot of work, you know. She's having to now school
6 kids,
yeah,
two secondary school kids, 4 primary.
While her taxpayer dollars
must be working round the clock.
Well, exactly, and her taxpayer dollars or her husband's taxpayer dollars are going into this Crowborough military camp. And she was talking about the use of police. That's an extra £5.5 million that is now being spent just policing that site in Crowborough. I mean, that town literally overnight has been plunged into mayhem because of Shabana Mahmood and her strange policy about saving money by getting these asylum seekers out of the asylum hotels, but then putting them into military barracks, which are basically the same, and they get all the enticements. So I don't understand what she's actually saying. I mean, seeing Shabana on a rival station, did you see? I mean, I'm not going to talk about where she was, but she was on a different station talking about how successful this has been and how she hasn't really spoken to anyone from Crowborough is unacceptable.
Well, so what we got there, the 2 stories, what's interesting about it? Well, there's a lot of interesting things about it, but you know, this Labour government, Shabana Mahmood, obsessing on the type of accommodation that we put migrants in. Where do we accommodate our asylum seekers? As if we give a damn. The story for both those communities, West Drayton, Hillingdon, near Heathrow Airport, and Crowborough, is the same. It doesn't matter that all the migrants descending on the school in Hillingdon near Heathrow Airport are staying in fact, I think it was 3 hotels, now 2.
Yes, but that big one is still very much there, the one that's on the freeway that you can see. It's the Holiday Inn.
Yeah. If any of you motorists, if you drive down the M4, if you're going towards Bristol on the left, you see everybody, I can envisage it. You see on your left, right near Heathrow, this massive Holiday Inn. That's where all the migrants are, and they go under this pedestrian tunnel and then walk their way towards Cherry Lane Primary School, where they hang around outside, terrorising the kids and terrorising parents who are terrified for their children's safety. So that's their story. Those migrants happen to be in hotels. The Crowborough story is they happen to be in an army training camp. But the nightmare is the same for the local communities. Shabana Mahmood, you know, with Crowborough going, this is just the start. Oh, great. This government, you know, in the end, OK, you save a few quid by putting them in an army camp, but we don't care, do we?
Well, it's classic sort of left-wingism. It's just sweep it under the carpet, make it look shiny from the outside, and don't actually think about the real-life consequences. I mean, I feel like one of the biggest stories that unfortunately we don't really see on BBC or Sky News is that Judge Nimral Shan this week, who basically covered up the fact, covered up the fact that an asylum seeker repeatedly raped an 18-year-old or sexually assaulted, and this is what happens, you know, oh, don't make it look like that. Let's look at the optics, but let's not actually address the root cause of what is going on. So I agree with you. I think this asylum army barracks that she's threatening on many other towns across the country is not a solution. And I did do a question to Nigel Farage earlier in the week, and I asked him about this because I did want to know maybe reforms policy. Has anyone got any other better solution? And he did say that he would lock them in these facilities if he did come into power. So that was an interesting kind of policy that he's put forward to stop Crowborough from happening.
And what we're talking about with both these communities, and of course communities with nearby asylum seeker hotels or asylum seeker accommodation centres all over the country, is this fear, this actual palpable fear and apparent fact that we've kind of imported a sex crime epidemic. You know, the number of asylum seekers, migrants, these young men who come here, we don't ask them any questions, we just put them in hotels or military camps, who are either charged with or commit sexual crimes is alarming. In fact, foreign nationals who are arrested for sex crimes are 3.5 times more likely to be arrested for or charged with sex crimes, and Afghanis are 22 times more likely to be arrested or convicted of sex crimes. And those numbers are going up. That's why Shana's worried. That's why the parents at Cherry Lane Primary School are worried. They're worried about this.
Yeah. Absolutely. And, you know, going on those marches, you can see that those people have been pushed to their limit. They're not people who are looking for this trouble or looking to sort of create lots of tension within the community. They just don't feel safe because there are story after story of it being revealed that, yeah, you're right, a lot of these asylum seekers are committing sex crimes in the country, a lot of them towards underage girls, some boys. And what's interesting is, and actually infuriating, is that the precedent set in countries like Afghanistan or Ethiopia or Eritrea, as we saw with Hadush Kabutu, which was that Bell Hotel.
The Bell Hotel, Eritrean, wasn't he?
I think, yeah, he was Eritrean. They almost use it as an excuse, the sort of country's age for consent.
Yeah.
So, oh, you know, in that country, 14 years old is actually considered a woman. So, you know, he wasn't to know that he wasn't meant to sexually assault that child. These are the problems.
Yeah, but the key word there is consent.
Yeah.
These people are not, they're not hanging around waiting for the nuance of consent. You know, I've got to stress here, no one is pointing the finger at all asylum seekers. That would be very, very wrong. But the truth of the matter is that a disproportionate number of these young men that we let into the country and put into hotels or military camps or houses of multiple occupation, a disproportionately high number of them go on to either be charged with or prosecuted and convicted of sex crimes. That's the problem, isn't it?
Yes, and the problem is we are actually at a crisis point right now where women are pulling their children out of schools. I mean, this is the fact. You know, you want to talk about Andy Burnham versus Keir Starmer, and the media just wants to talk about Westminster bubble things. This is what's actually going on in the ground because of the decisions that are being made about a kilometre from this studio. And it's a very, very catastrophic problem, and it's a powder keg situation. Unfortunately, they keep banging on about community tension. They're not going to solve community tensions by sweeping this under the rug and not telling the people what's actually going on. So I think it's just going to get worse and worse, unfortunately. I'm going to a protest. Of course, I don't endorse any violence or anything, but all these protests that I have been to are peaceful. I'm going to another one in Braintree in Essex where they've got the Wethersfield buses situation.
Yes, of course.
So that's going to happen on Saturday. If you do see me, do come say hi and voice your opinion to talk, because we do just really want to cover
I'll be
this.
in the area. I'll come and say hello.
All right, go on.
That's a lie. No, seriously, you're absolutely right, Samara. Brilliant words there. This is a powder keg situation. Young mothers like Shana taking their children out of school because they're terrified. Don't want them to go to school because there's all these young men from foreign countries, different cultures, milling around on the street corners. This is ridiculous. This is outrageous. This government imposing terror and fear on communities all over the country. Well said, Samara Gill. Let me know what you think. 0344 499 1000. A change of tone when we come back. Let's do the sport, shall we, with our friends from The Sun. So that next. Thank you, Samara.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Actually, we're going to do the sport with our friends from The Sun in just a little while. I forgot this really fascinating story, which we're now going to cover, and that is that the NHS, the National Health Service, you've heard of that, haven't you? They've called in an exorcist to rid a hospice in Norfolk, near Norwich, of a ghost. It's a terrifying little girl in a red dress. They are so concerned about paranormal incidents at the Priscilla Bacon Lodge, which is near Colburn Hospital. It's obviously a hospice, end-of-life care, that they've called in an exorcist to get rid of this ghostly little girl. The staff and patients have reported seeing the spectre of a small child in a red dress. A chaplain emailed the Diocese of Norwich back in 2023 to complain about paranormal incidents which have been really upsetting the staff, and they're awaiting help. So an exorcist is going in there to get rid of a ghost that is haunting the Priscilla Bacon Lodge Hospice. Extraordinary. Let's talk to someone who knows about exorcism, the Reverend Peter Auld. He's an ordained Church of England priest. Hello, Peter. Are you actually an exorcist?
We don't really have exorcists. I've done a little bit of deliverance ministry in my time. Never sort of hunted it out, looked through it. It's just sort of happened along the way.
Look, what I want to ask you though, I mean, obviously you have to take this stuff seriously. I mean, the NHS calling in an exorcist, people like me go, what a lot of nonsense. It's just for the movies, isn't it? But I think you're going to tell me it's not nonsense, right?
No, I mean, 99 times out of 100, it is just the pipes creaking, the floorboards going, the wind in the attic, and then just occasionally it's the real thing. And we, I was the parish priest for 6 years. I used to get asked to go and bless houses where people said, "Oh, there's something going on." You would go in, you would, if they were worried, you'd do like a Eucharist, a mass with the family in the main living area. You'd bless the house room by room. Then nothing would happen. Everybody would be chilled out, have enjoyed the experience, and you know, it would be fine. But then just occasionally you'd turn up and it was the real deal.
And so would you call yourself a deliverance minister? Is that what you are?
So I'm not a deliverance minister. I'm not, you know, we in the Church of England, we have every diocese has an advisor for deliverance ministry.
Okay.
And they are there to advise. They're there to advise the clergy on what to do if they come across stuff. Personally, I think it's good that Church of England priests sort of know what to do, because, you know, the official guidance is if there is anything supernatural, then you need to call in and get advice first before you do stuff. And in practice, if a demon turns up, you kind of need to know what to do if that happens.
Have you ever encountered any demons?
I've had 2 experiences that were absolutely very clearly demonic.
Well, tell me. Well,
Let me tell you about one of them.
Yeah. Let's not do both. Let's just do one. Go on.
Yeah, but so I got asked to a house which a family had just moved in, and they said that they had a poltergeist. They had things moving around, and they had a daughter who was complaining about someone in
her room, in her bedroom or something. Yeah.
So I went in. I did a mass in the main kind of living area, and then what I would typically do is I would just take a bit of the wine after it's consecrated, put it into some water, bless it, and you just go around the house. You just bless every single room. And on this occasion, there were 2 things. Firstly, as I went up the stairs, halfway up the stairs, there was this very cold spot. But I didn't make a big deal about it, because one of the things that I was taught was you never take on the supernatural directly. You're always just there to bless stuff and
okay, so you saw the cold spot, then you carried on upstairs?
Then we went upstairs. The girls' room was really cold.
Oh my God.
And everything else was fine. So I was just sprinkling a bit of holy water, blessing every room, the toilet, the loft, everything. And then I finished. I was on the landing, and I did a final prayer of blessing. And I said, "In the mighty name of Jesus Christ." Yeah. And this girl in her room had this like Peppa Pig vinyl poster.
Yeah.
And it tore from top to bottom.
Oh my God! What? Straight down the middle?
Straight down the middle, but I had this very clear sense of calm and peace.
So this was a demon that not only didn't like this house, it also didn't like Peppa Pig, right?
I think it was what was interesting was at the moment that it
do that to Peppa Pig.
It was like a teenage strop, like a teenage.
Yeah.
I went back and spoke to afterwards. You know, I went and spoke to the wife. The mum, yeah. And she said, I said, "Is there anything about the room that you can tell me?" She said, "Yes." So the room was the room of the daughter of the family that they bought it from. And it turns out that the family that they bought it from hadn't told their teenage daughter that they were selling until like a day before they came to visit. And when they came into the house, she was sat on the stairs glowering at them. And I said, "Where was she sat?" She pointed to the stair. It was that stair. What was her room? It's the same room that she had. Yeah. So I think I'm no expert, but I think what had happened was that that girl had sort of cursed the family
house.
That wanted to buy the house. That had let a demon in. And then when I went in there and simply presented Jesus and made him real and prayed in his name, the demon fled, because that's what they do. That's what the Bible tells us.
Peter, so what you're saying is, you know, I would classify myself as a sort of doubter, but you would tell someone like me, let me tell you, Kevin, demons exist.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't get me wrong, we have very strict rules. As I said to you, 99 times out of 100, it's creaking pipes, it's floorboards. There's also very strong rules about making sure people who say that they're possessed go and see a psychiatrist and all this kind of things, because there's a lot of people who are mentally ill who think they're possessed. So there are lots of safeguards in place. but just occasionally it's the real deal.
So that's clearly, I mean, because the NHS wouldn't do this lightly.
No.
It has been decided that this poor hospice is indeed haunted by a small girl in a red dress. So you take this seriously. Now, one of the greatest and one of the most frightening films I've ever seen is The Exorcist. Fantastic film, filmically, just by sheer cinema standards. William Friedkin, one of the greatest directors Hollywood ever produced. What a powerful film. It was supposed to tell a true story. Do you believe that story? Do you believe diabolical possession happens?
I think it can happen. Again, I don't want to over-egg the point, right? The Exorcist is very good in that it actually, draws on good, in this case, Roman Catholic practice. I have to say, personally, I've tended to find that the Roman Catholic exorcists are better at this than some of the Anglican exorcists.
Is there a rivalry?
Well, you know what? I think some of it is to do with some parts of the Church of England are just a little bit.
Yeah. You got to raise your game, Peter. Come on, don't let the Catholics beat you.
No. So I've met an Anglican advisor on spiritual deliverance who didn't believe in demons. I was like, well, what's the point, right? Whereas the local Roman Catholic, where I was a parish priest, was actually really good. I actually went to him for advice on things.
Well, listen, Peter, that's absolutely fascinating, and I think the headline on what you just said is, don't necessarily dismiss these stories as fantasies, that there really are demons. It can really happen. Fantastic to talk to you. Thank you so much. Reverend Peter Auld there, ordained Church of England priest. And we've got a call from Anne in Sussex. Hello, Anne. You say your husband had an experience of a demon. Tell us all about it.
Well, it was very strange because my husband was your ordinary, typical British working man, liked to drink, but he had become a Christian, but that was not what was so important. The point was we had a guy in the church whose son was really a handful, and this little boy was always in trouble. And we went round to their house, and my husband just went into, they had like 2 sitting rooms, and he came straight out and he said, that room, there's something wrong. And he said it was very cold and it was really weird. Well, it happened that not long after they decided to move. And I'll tell you, the child was absolutely fine as soon as they moved. The other side was that we moved to a house where when we moved in, my friend's son said, oh, you're living where the man killed himself.
Oh, my God. Really? Yeah.
And you know what you thought was, well, we moved in. We forget that. But a lot of things happened, and it wasn't until we moved out, our neighbours said, we wanted you to move, because everyone who lived in that house has had problems. And the people who bought the house, they brought in an exorcist because lots of things happened that first week. Wow. And I think there's more to it than we know. I honestly do.
Yeah. And your husband, I think you were indicating, is a sort of down-to-earth bloke. So, not necessarily the sort of person who would go around saying, I saw a ghost, but he did.
No. Nobody would have believed that. But he was right. And what we know was the difference when they moved, the child was absolutely fine. He was only about 6 or 7, and he was, it was uncanny. And I learnt there was more to this than we know. And there's lots of things happening in our country today that people don't understand, that actually Christianity isn't just some weird thing, that there's a lot to it. Yeah. And a lot of things that happen to people, we ought to be more aware. There's something called generational curses. And I say, look at the royal family and their history. Yeah. And you
the misfortune gets passed down the generation. It's really interesting, and really interesting to note that the Church of England and indeed the Catholic Church do have these exorcists. In the Church of England they're called deliverance ministers. I believe in the Catholic Church they're called exorcists. But
it's not weird, and it doesn't have to be really heavy, awful stuff.
No.
I tell you honestly, simple prayers for people can actually make an enormous difference.
Well, can you pray for my soul, because I fear there's no hope for me, Anne. But thank you very much for ringing. Really interesting stuff. Thank you very much. Anne in Sussex there. I've got a text here from Liam in Bolton. He says, hi Kev, can the good Reverend banish Starmer back to hell? Or back to China, really, which is the same kind of thing, isn't it? Thank you very much, Liam, for raising the tone. Let's go to break, and when we do come back, we'll talk about sport with our friends from The Sun. That next, stay tuned.
Shone a light for me.
Hello and welcome to Down the Local, the show that goes from pub to pub across the country, speaking to the punters about the subjects driving us all nuts at the moment.
Rachel Reeves, Rachel Thieves, Rachel McCown.
I don't really know Meghan Markle. I know Meghan Markle's from Suits, that's about it.
I don't know about anyone else, and I don't know where this is going. I have 0% beard, and I feel
raising the flag, I think, is symptomatic of its desperation.
Is public transport good value for money?
No, it isn't.
You really don't like speaking to people.
Every Monday to Wednesday, midnight until 1, it is Talkback.
Such a shortage of housing. You've got landlords, right, have taken that on board, and it's an absolute disgrace.
Your stories, your opinions, it is your chance to have your say. So they're literally just being rented out as hotels, basically.
Yeah, rent a load of hotels.
Well, that has really...
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Let's talk sport now with Mike Anstead, head of content at The Sun. What a day in the Champions League, or what a night last night. Let's first of all talk about Jose Mourinho. Life in the old dog yet, now managing Benfica, of course, over there in Portugal, his home country. They were playing mighty Real Madrid, and a 98th minute wonder goal by the goalkeeper. Explain that high drama, will you, please?
You can't make this up. I mean, we're all sat there last night, great night of Champions League action. We've all got our eyes on the 6 English teams, who's going to get into automatic spots, who's going to get dumped into the playoff round. And at the very end, you have Jose Mourinho running down the touchline just like he did 20-odd years ago when Porto knocked out Man United, celebrating this goal. So they were already 3-2 up. They
were 3-2 up, but they needed that goal difference.
They needed the goal to get basically into the playoff round themselves. So that goal was crucial. This wasn't just like an extra goal scored for fun.
Sure.
They really needed it. This is mighty Real Madrid, who basically own the European Cup, who he used to manage, got binned off like most of Real Madrid managers. He lost the political battle there. To be honest, it's leaving us going, actually, Real Madrid better off getting Jose Mourinho back, because they are a club swamped with egos. Yes, they're the greatest club in the history of Europe and the history of the world, but they've got so many egos running through wrecking that club. Xabi Alonso, who's an ex-Real Madrid player, has been gobbled up, kicked out. He might rock up at Liverpool sometime soon. are below. Another ex-Liverpool one is the caretaker man. He's just getting overrun. The players running it. They need someone like Mourinho to go in there and give everyone a good boot at the backside.
So to go back to that goal itself, it was one of those last kicks of the match where the keeper comes up for a corner or whatever the hell it was. Did he head it or what?
Yeah. So Jude Bellingham's getting annoyed with the ref that he's given away this free kick. Didn't think about it. Still arguing it. Where the keeper's making his way up. I was saying earlier, what I love about got a goalkeeper up in the corner is it just looks so unique that you've got the two colours of the kits and then this random guy wearing the bright yellow thing just waiting there. They're always much bigger than every other player. And it was a great finish. Look, if Harry Kane scored that,
it hardly ever works, does it?
But there are examples. Alisson did it a couple of seasons ago for Liverpool. Obviously, Jimmy Glass, that some older listeners, viewers will remember from keeping Carlisle in the Football League last day of the season. So it's a great story.
Fantastic. Good old Jose Mourinho. Maybe we'll go back to Real Madrid
Hope so.
after that. He's always been a great story, hasn't he? Well, look, to just quickly summarise the fortunes of the other British clubs, I see that Liverpool won 6-0. Where do we all stand? Spurs continuing to prove that they're good in Europe but crap at home.
Yeah, well, a lot of these clubs are baffling. I mean, Liverpool aren't doing well in the league, but they breeze through. So we've got 5 that have gone straight through to the last 16. This is it's relatively new format of the Champions League. So it's big, long table. So the only team out of the 6 who didn't make it to the automatic through to the last 16 is Newcastle. They're in a draw that takes place tomorrow morning. Well, they'll find out who they get, and then they're in essentially this playoff round to get through. So yeah, we've got Tottenham, Liverpool, Man City, Chelsea and Liverpool through. So we're bossing Europe at the moment, but Jose Mourinho might win it at the end of the day.
Great night for British teams and a great night for Jose Mourinho and Benfica. Extraordinary. Let's go to a story that I was talking to last night with Sean Custis, your colleague. Spurs, or rather Raheem Sterling, has been let go by Chelsea. He was on, wasn't it, 325 grand a week, the highest paid player. He hadn't played for Chelsea for ages. Nice work for doing nothing, isn't it? Anyway, he's been let go, and 7 clubs are keen on him. I was astonished that he's only 31. I thought he was about 41. So he's left Chelsea. 7 clubs interested. Spurs are in pole position.
Yep, Spurs are having a look at it. Look, he's got a lot of interest. He would obviously
he was
demand.
A great player, wasn't he?
He was a great player. Look, it's really fallen off a cliff for Sterling, really, because he was a big signing for Chelsea from City. Ended up going on loan to Arsenal last year, which didn't work, and he's been put in this bomb squad where they're made to train away from other players, and then ultimately this week's been released. So he is a free agent, doesn't cost you anything. He's obviously got a fair bit in the bank from his settlement. So does he need mega wages? There's probably clubs who might be able to offer him somewhere between 75 and 100 grand a week.
Yeah.
And he might fancy it, and obviously he'd be free to play in the Champions League. So we know Tottenham are having a look. Let's see. There's other clubs around Europe having a look as well, but he doesn't need to sign before Monday's 7 o'clock deadline because he's free agent. So I'm sure he'll sit over the next few days and see what offers he's got in front of him. But it'd be interesting if he moves to Spurs.
Exactly right. Well, look, let's move on. Let's talk about tennis, shall we? Raducanu, she got another new coach. What's happened there?
Yeah, we're saying if Emma Raducanu was a football club, who would she be? And actually, producer Ryan will appreciate this. I think she'd be Watford, with the number of coaches she lets go.
What, useless?
Well, I mean, she has won the US Open.
Just walked out the studio.
Yeah, has won the US Open, remember? So she's not useless, but she's been struggling recently. This is another coach that's gone, Francis Roy. But I mean, this guy's notable because he worked with Rafa Nadal. He had a big part to play in Rafa Nadal's massive success with all the slams he won. She's split with him today. We've worked out, I think it's 8, maybe 9 if you include interim coaches she's had during her short career. Look, I mean, I think the British public really needs someone to get behind in the post-Andy Murray era. We've got Draper in the men's thing. He's doing well despite his injuries. Raducanu's really struggled since the US Open, but I think
what happened there, Mike? I mean, she's absolutely stormed that US Open.
Yeah.
We thought, oh my God, she's only a kid. She's got a whole career ahead of her. We've got a superstar on our hands. And ever since then, it's been a disaster. What on earth has gone wrong?
I don't think you can fluke winning a tennis
Exactly, so
slam
why-
because you've got to win 7 matches, right? So it's hard. You can fluke maybe 1 match and get through, but it's hard to do that. So I wonder whether it was a bit too much too soon, and then a lot of the commercial offers came in, and perhaps did she lose a bit of focus with all that? We'll never quite know. She's not going to own up to stuff like that. But there were a lot of deals, as she knows, she was doing stuff for BA and Porsche and all these other people. But look, I mean, she's clearly a talented player. But I think with all these things, you need a strong coach in your corner and someone who spends a lot of time with you and helps guide you. If you're just going through a new coach every 6 months, there's going to be no consistency. Things are going to change all the time. So, yeah, see who's lined up next for that.
It's interesting to go back to Raheem Sterling and where he might go, and that perhaps money won't be a big consideration for him. I'm a Fulham fan, and when we had William playing for us, he sort of went away, and then he just came back and said, I'll play for you another season. And apparently the reason was that his wife owns a restaurant in the Fulham Palace Road just down the road, so he thought, well, that'll be handy.
Yeah.
So he thought, I'll play another season for Fulham. A great player he was as well, always a class above everyone else on the pitch, even though he was getting on a bit. So it'll be interesting where Raheem chooses to go, because for once it won't be wages.
Well, exactly. Jack Keane, who's one of our writers on Sunsport, his column tomorrow is all about these players whose careers kind of fall off a cliff. For Sterling, he's in the last England World Cup squad. He's nowhere near it now. You've had Dele Alli recently, who only a few years ago was bossing in the Champions League with Spurs. He's just nowhere now without a club. Even people like Jack Wilshere, perhaps with him there's a few injury problems, but they can hit the heights early in the career, and then it can fall pretty dramatically.
Indeed. Just before you go, Europa League tonight, who we got?
So Villa and Forest both playing. Again, Europa League's this big long table. So Villa are through. It just depends where they're going to finish in the table. Forest in the mid-ranking bit, so they're hoping they might just get through, but they're probably in the playoff round going through as well.
Let me ask my top production team, are these matches on talkSPORT, chaps? It says yes, they are. Thank you very much. Can we find out which? talkSPORT 1, talkSPORT 2, 8 p.m, I'm assuming. Forest are on talkSPORT 1 and Villa are on talkSPORT 2. Both those matches on talkSPORT tonight at 8 p.m. Well, thank you very much, Mike. Very full and frank sports roundup there from Mike Anstead, Sport Head of Content at The Sun. Really, really good stuff. Now, in a little while when we come back, we talked to Simon Danjuk, former Labour MP, about the various big stories going around today, particularly Keir Starmer's murky past in prosecuting or trying to prosecute former veteran soldiers who served for this country in the Gulf for alleged war crimes that didn't happen. He's been over in China. Does this guy really have our national interest at heart? What do you think? 03444 991 1000. And we'll also talk in the next hour about Match of the Day. Gary Lineker left. Apparently, since then, the audience ratings, the viewing figures have rocketed. There you go. We'll talk about all of that after the 6 o'clock news. Stick around, folks.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Oh, well, you know, it was so upsetting for the BBC that they had to get rid of Gary Lineker, you know, because, you know, he got involved in posting a few sort of rather dubious anti-Semitic things on Twitter, didn't he? And so he had to go. And they said, oh, we'll never get a presenter like that. You know, the ratings with Gary, people love tuning in to watch Gary. They really do. Apparently not. Ever since he's gone, the ratings, the viewing figures have rocketed. You know, this nonsense about, oh, Gary Lineker's vital for Match of the Day, rubbish. You know, you could get my dog, who's not with us anymore, by the way, you get my dog to present Match of the Day and people would still tune in. They tune in for the damn football. But it seems the new presenting team are more popular with the audience than Saint Gary of Gaza ever was. So there you go. We'll talk about that in a little while. We'll also get the news on what's in the Sun tomorrow from Will Barker, Deputy Head of News there, Britain's favourite newspaper. And for the next few minutes, let's talk to former Labour MP Simon Danczuk about some of the biggest stories of the day. Welcome, Simon. Good to have you on the show again.
Good to be with you, Kevin.
Now, this unfolded on this very programme a couple of hours ago. I interviewed two members of the Independent Candidate Alliance organisation in Birmingham. Their names are Ahmed Yaqub and Shakil Afsar. They are going to put up 60, more than 60, they say, independent candidates for election in the local elections in Birmingham next May. More than 60. These are Muslim men. They hate Zionists. They think Israelis should be banned from all football events because of the horrors that they say Israel has committed in the Middle East. You know, we know what we're talking about here. I'm going to play you this, and then I'm going to ask you. You have some kind of experience of this because, of course, you stood against that other, I think it's fair to say, Islamic fanatic George Galloway in Rochdale. So you know about this syndrome. You know, these politicians who've effectively become the member for Gaza. The suspicion in Birmingham is that these guys want to impose on that great city more than 60 Muslim councillors, independent councillors. Have a quick look at my entertaining conversation with these two gentlemen. Midland's former Chief Constable, Craig Guilford. Do you think it was right that he was forced to retire after banning Jewish football fans from Maccabi Tel Aviv from attending the game against Aston Villa last November? Do you think that it was right he had to go because he kept lying about the reason?
I believe that the fact that he's been forced to retire just shows you the powerful Zionist lobby that exists within our society.
So you don't think he should have been...
I'm answering the question, Kevin. I'm answering the question. So this is an individual who has autonomy to make his decision, but the fact that the Zionist lobby has not only made him forcibly retire at a tender age of 50-something, the fact that the Zionist lobby is now U-turning on giving the Home Secretary...
What is it you don't like about Zionists? You don't like Zionists? You don't like Zionists?
I will answer that question.
Okay, answer. What don't you like about Zionists? What don't you like about Zionists, Shakil?
Questions on questions, Craig. I'm answering about...
Okay, answer that one.
Is a respected police officer within our...
No, he isn't, not anymore, and he's not respected.
We respect him. The people on the...
Well, you respect him, nobody else does.
I challenge talkTV to walk around my area and say whether they respect Chief Constable Craig Guilford or not.
Yeah, well, I think we might know why. Well, there you go, Simon. That was just a subsection of a sort of rather strange 15 minutes I had with those two guys. I mean, you know what we're talking about. Does it worry you? I mean, they say, oh, no, our candidates aren't all going to be Muslims. You know, but you can rest assured the vast majority of them will be, if not all of them. You know, they are foursquare behind the decision to ban the Maccabi Tel Aviv Jewish fans from the Aston Villa match. They think that that disgraced, shameful former Chief Constable Craig Guilford, who skipped to the local Islamic community's beat, is a great guy and wrongfully had to quit his job, and so on and so forth. What I fear is going on there in Birmingham, and what I fear that these guys from the Independent Candidate Alliance are up to, is they are Islamifying Birmingham.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right, and I speak with some experience on this, Kevin. I was a local councillor on Blackburn Council back in the early 90s. I was the MP for Rochdale, which is a very diverse community, large Muslim population, and then I fought the Rochdale by-election just in February 2024 when George Galloway stood very much on a Gaza ticket. He's very pro-Islam. I think that's fair and reasonable to say. And I am very concerned. I mean, the first point to make is that this is a complete failure of multiculturalism. This concept that is still celebrated by many people in the Labour Party and indeed the Labour government, that, you know, we all just can do our own thing and we don't have to adapt to, you know, British norms and cultures and we'll all rub along. Well, that's not the reality of it, is it? And then it's now coming to the fore. We saw a taste of it in the July 2024 general election when a handful of independent MPs got elected, not least in Blackburn, I have to say, but other parts of the country as well. And now we're beginning to see that they are attempting to take over whole local authorities. Bearing in mind, Birmingham's the biggest local authority, biggest council in Europe, I think I'm right to say. Right. It's a gigantic local authority, and they clearly have an agenda. And let's be clear about it. I have a lot of experience, nearly 40 years experience in politics. Their agenda is all around Islam, it's all around Palestine, it's all around Gaza. You can accept that from me. And the worst
I do, Simon, don't worry about that.
Yeah, and the worst thing is that the Labour government will not challenge it. It's the last thing they will do. And to give you another practical example of it is the rape gangs, the grooming gangs, of which I had direct experience of it. And I were being told in Rochdale by senior Labour figures, don't mention the ethnicity or religion of the perpetrators. And it's more of the same kind of politics. The last thing Starmer will do is challenge the type of politics, this sectarian politics that's growing up and really already developed in major cities and towns across Britain. It's devastating for the country. I fear we are losing our British culture.
Yeah, I mean, this is a concerted bid, I think, to Islamify Birmingham. More than 60 councillors will be put up by this organisation, independent. You know, they talk about, oh, this is to address issues of poverty and cost of living, etc. I don't think it is. This is to get Muslims into power to run that council. One of their candidates, I don't know if you picked up on this story yesterday, but it beggars belief, is a guy called Shahid Butt. He's 60 years old. He's a convicted terrorist. He went to jail in the Yemen in 1999 for his part in a terror plot which involved associating with armed groups, plotting murder and destruction, and owning weapons. He will be one of the candidates who will stand for the Independent Candidates Alliance organisation in May. It doesn't bear thinking about, does it?
No, and I don't think we have any laws against that, but perhaps we should. I'm quite open-minded on many things, and believe in freedoms, etc. But we have laws against people who are bankrupt not being able to stand to be a local councillor. So if you can't stand to be a councillor if you've been bankrupt, can you really stand to be a councillor in Britain if you've been found guilty of terrorist charges? I mean, perhaps that's something government should be looking at. But I would urge everybody, the turnout in local elections is always exceptionally low. I would urge anybody who doesn't buy into this Islamic agenda in Birmingham to get out there and vote. We have to overturn these radical extremists.
Can I ask you about another big story that we've covered today an hour or so ago? We spoke to a mother, Shana, in Crowborough, where those poor people are in the process of having imposed on them more than 540 young men, all of them asylum seekers, foreigners, most of them who came into this country illegally. They are now being billeted in the local army training camp. And the local people, they've been protesting passionately for months, are terrified. They're terrified that they will have 540 young men. They're all men. They're all young, milling around on the street corners outside schools. And Shana said she's so worried about it because the first of the migrants have already arrived. She has taken her 6 children out of school. She's now homeschooling them. And she says many other parents in the area are going to do the same because they are just terrified for the safety of their children. Shabana Mahmood, when the first of them were snuck in, bust in under the cover of night a couple of weeks ago, thought this was a magnificent event, that we were all going to go, isn't this great? She actually tweeted, "This is just the start." What is going on, Simon? You know, this is a community, they're not the only one, who have been plunged into terror about what's happened to them. 540 young men, you know, of sexually active age, from strange cultures, with different attitudes to women and children that we have, suddenly plonked in their midst. What do you make of all this?
I think it's awful, isn't it? And this, you know, Shabana Mahmood, the Labour Home Secretary, talks all very tough, but the reality is considerably different. I mean, the idea that the numbers are going up in terms of illegal immigrants coming into Britain, they're not going down. And one of the reasons that she's putting them on former military bases is so that she can say she's reduced the number in hotels. Well, if you live in this community, that's no satisfaction to you. I mean, putting 500 plus people like this together, as you describe them, these are young men. You know, they'll be prowling around that village. Let's be honest about it.
They will be.
Looking for something to do. And that must scare to death the people that live there. It's no solution. The only solution, well, twofold. Stop the boats and come out to the European Convention on Human Rights. And then thirdly, start deporting people. And, you know, perhaps that does involve having somewhere like Rwanda or elsewhere that they can be processed. And it's a simple solution. And we were very close to having it under the Conservative government, I have to say. And they put a lot of effort into it. What happens? Starmer comes in July 2024. One of the first things he does is cancel the Rwanda plan, which had been seen to be working. And now they're taking us to court saying...
50 million quid. They want 50 million off us for unpaid instalments, apparently.
Because he handled it badly. Everything he touches, Starmer touches, doesn't turn to gold.
Yeah. We know what it turns to. This is a family show, though. But Shabana Mahmood and Starmer, the Labour government, seem to think... you know, I get it. You know, if you move what is it? We've got 35,000 asylum seekers staying in hotels, expensive hotels. If you move them out, or you move to a policy where you put them in far cheaper military bases, disused military camps, all of that, yeah, you're going to save money, and I suppose you have to approve of that. But they seem to think that we're all going to go, well, that's it then, crisis solved. As if it's, you know, in the end, the people of Crowborough don't care that it's an army base that these people are going to be put into. As far as they're concerned, it could be hotels. Local communities don't care where the asylum seekers are staying. The fact that worries them is the vicinity to those communities. And the Labour government trying to change the goalposts like that is just pathetic. Let me ask you a last question, Simon. I've been asking this question all day, actually. Do we actually believe that this Prime Minister of ours, who's been in China all week selling the British soul, selling our soul to a country that has malevolence towards us, you know, that China is not our friend, China is our enemy. He's been, you know, sucking up to Xi Jinping and his awful people. So that's what he's been doing all week. And then we learn over the last couple of days that when he was still a human rights lawyer, back in the early noughties or the mid-noughties, he was sort of actively involved in this awful campaign by that odious little man, Phil Shiner. Phil Shiner was going round paying liars to pretend that they were the victims of war crimes, or that they knew about war crimes committed by British soldiers in Iraq. It was a pile of crap. It wasn't true. Keir Starmer was involved in all of this. I'm not saying he knew what Philip Shiner was up to. Far from it. I don't suppose he did. But he wrote a chapter in Philip Shiner's worst-selling book, The Iraq War and International Law. Keir Starmer wrote a chapter about how to use the European Convention on Human Rights to prosecute and convict British veterans who had served in Iraq in the Gulf War, who were accused of war crimes. And this was as I say, this was a crock. But this Prime Minister was deeply involved in this, the witch hunt to prosecute our soldiers who fought in Iraq. Do you think this guy really does have our national interest at heart?
No, I genuinely don't. I don't think he believes in Britain and what we've traditionally stood for. And this is a perfect example. I think he's going to have a lot of questions to answer when he comes back. Just to briefly go through it, he has played a part. These veterans served Britain. They were investigated for some alleged crimes in Iraq. They were found not guilty, no case to answer, sometimes 2 or 3 times. Starmer comes along with Phil Shiner and insists that the European Convention on Human Rights should be used to investigate them again. And there are some veterans who had to go through 10, 13 years of investigation as to whether they'd killed an Iraqi on purpose or in self-defense. And again, they were never found guilty. But Starmer's advice on this played a significant part in these people being re-investigated. There's no doubt about that. And then 10 Downing Street earlier in the week says, oh, well, tried to create some distance between Starmer and Phil Shiner, who is a disgraced ambulance-chasing lawyer, as you pointed out.
He's struck off as a lawyer and he was convicted of fraud.
Yeah, absolutely, because they were trying to set up some of these veterans. That's the reality of it. And Starmer, it turns out, he did know him. He wrote a chapter in his book. There's a photo of them together. So the idea that they hardly ever came together is an absolute nonsense. They were singing off the same hymn sheet.
Yeah, as I say, he wrote a chapter about how we should use the European Convention on Human Rights to prosecute British soldiers who served in Iraq for alleged war crimes which clearly did not happen because Philip Shiner was inventing the evidence. He was paying for fake evidence. As I say, and no one is implying that the Prime Minister or Keir Starmer, as he was then, knew about that. But he gave his services to this witch hunt for free. So enthusiastic was he about it. I don't think this guy likes Britain. Do you know what oikophobia means?
I think the reason he did it for free is because he would then have an opportunity to do, if cases were brought, he would then be engaged to work on those cases, and where he would start racking up some income from it. I suspect that he was generating interest. As time went on, he ended up going to the Crown Prosecution Service. But had it continued and had Phil Shiner been successful, it would have been a very different matter. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. It's another reason we need to come out to the European Convention on Human Rights. Yeah. It's the last thing that somebody who supports lawfare like Starmer would ever do.
Yeah, it's lawfare. Yeah, as I say, he stands accused of our Prime Minister of suffering from oikophobia. Oikophobia means the repudiation, hatred or criticism of one's own native culture and society. I reckon Mr. Starmer suffers from oikophobia, and I think you agree with me, Simon. Simon, it was brilliant to talk to you. Thank you so much. Simon Danjit there, former Labour MP. Let's quickly take a call, shall we? Let's talk to Ian in London. He wants to talk about Birmingham and my interview with those 2 Muslim guys earlier in the show. Welcome, Ian. What would you like to say?
I thought you were going to say oy vey about Starmer, first of all.
No, I wasn't going to say that. Oikophobia, it is.
Oikophobia.
Yeah.
Well,
look it up.
Yeah, well, one other Jewish word for you. You're a mensch.
Thank you.
How you did not lose your rag with those 2. And it's funny how 2 stories can sort of go interacted. That where the guy was slagging off and saying the Israeli guys were shouting out and screaming about in Amsterdam, they want to rape women. But what he doesn't say is what goes on in this country, which has been proven about British Muslim gangs grooming women and girls and all that sort of stuff. What's happening here with the Crowborough, where you've got the same sort of problems. I'm not saying all Muslims are wrong. Some of them are not. right?
Yeah.
But there's...
No, of course not. Of course not. No, not at all.
Right.
I mean, I don't have any problem with our multicultural society. I don't have any problem with the fact there are 4 million Muslims living in this country. I think the problem is that too many of them do not integrate, that they become isolated communities, like almost caliphates in the middle of our country. And it seems to me that there are forces at work in Birmingham in particular that want to Islamify that city, putting up more than 60 independent candidates to stand in the local elections. And, you know, they say, oh, they're not all Muslims. They nearly all will be. You know that. That's worrying, isn't it, Ian?
It is. And what makes you laugh with all of that, and it's the same thing that goes on in the East End of London and everything else, that he said that British Muslim, and they've got to speak English and all this sort of stuff. Well, why is it then that all the signposts in East London actually have to be put in Arabic for the Muslims to read the signs?
Yeah, and
it's just that you say it's multiculturalism. That's right. My family came over luckily before the Holocaust and everything else, and others came from Italy. They come from Ireland. They come from all over the world. They all integrate. The Sikhs.
Yeah.
You have no problems.
I want to stress this. I like the idea of multicultural society, but not if we're to have, you know, I think it's like millions of people who just don't speak English. You live here, more than 1 million, I think. You know, that's wrong. And as you say, we shouldn't have to have signs with Arabic and Muslim languages so that the local community can read them because they can't speak English. That's my problem with it. And those guys that I spoke to earlier, I think that they seem to think that their representatives will be brilliant because they'll be able to talk to the many people in Birmingham who can't speak English. That's not good. That isn't good at all. Ian, I've got to move on, but excellent call. Thank you for ringing. Call again. Ian in London. Let's go to break. When we come back, let's talk about Match of the Day and the viewing figures that have rocketed since Gary Lineker left.
A light for me.
Muslims, the 12 million Uyghur Muslims who are the victims of the most appalling human rights abuse. And that is just the beginning in China. We know what kind of a country is it. Do you trust our Prime Minister to raise that issue with the Chinese leader?
Well, I think we've learned from 18 very punishing months that you can't trust this Prime Minister to negotiate a Chinese restaurant menu, let alone a trade deal or any other deal with the hardline communists.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I'm going to talk about Match of the Day in just a little while. But let me read a few messages, and we're going to take some calls in just a minute. We have lots of calls, lots of messages today. It's been a lively show, to say the least. This is Gordon in Burnham-on-Sea. He said, I lived in Germany on the Bergen-Belsen-Horn military camp. The amount of things that you saw and heard was scary. Our camp was next door to the Bergen concentration camp. Got a lot of stories about that place. You see, you should never forget that. Holocaust Memorial Day the other day. So many schools don't bother anymore. That's a disgrace. That is a disgrace. Never forget. You forget things like that, they will happen again. History is to the community what memory is to the individual. And if you forget the crimes against humanity, they will happen again. So never forget the Holocaust. Neil says, I'm surprised that it's talking about the red girl in the red dress haunting the hospice. I'm surprised that Maggie Thatcher isn't haunting Starmer. She's definitely turning in her grave. Yeah, I think you're right. This is somebody says about Richard says about the cold house. So tell them to turn the heating on. I've heard this before, though, that these houses that people say are possessed, you know, you have areas where whatever you do, you can put heating in, you put fires in, you can't make them warm. So perhaps just turning on the heating won't work. Now, let's move on. We're going to take some calls in just a minute, 0344 499 1000. We're going to find out what's happening in tomorrow's edition of Britain's favourite newspaper, The Sun. But first, extraordinary story. Let's talk about Match of the Day. Match of the Day's viewing figures have increased considerably this season. That is since Gary Lineker left. To be fair to him, there are extenuating circumstances, but it is interesting. Let's talk to football fan, poor guy, supports Southampton, director of popular conservatism as well, Mark Littlewood. Hi, Mark.
Morning, Kevin. Good to be with you.
You're languishing, I think, mid-table in the Championship. Any chance?
When we are in the Premier League, it's even worse, though, Kevin. If I watch Match of the Day, it should really come with a trigger warning and a helpline at the end of it for all Southampton fans who've been traumatised or affected by the experience. So languishing in the Championship is a bit of a blessing in comparison, to tell you the truth.
Well, my team Fulham are in the Championship. I always say to people whose teams are about to get relegated for the Premiership, it's good fun in the Championship. It really is. But anyway, let's talk about Gary Lineker. Let's talk about Match of the Day. The thing I always thought about Match of the Day, and I think you'll agree with me as a football fan, Gary Lineker was a very decent presenter, you know, rather good at it. But people don't tune in to Match of the Day because of the presenter, do they? As I said earlier, you get my dog to present it, people would tune in. They want to watch the football. What is interesting is that since he's gone, you know, he got shown the red card for those rather dubious tweets that he kept putting out about Gaza, allegedly anti-Semitic. He denies that, but some would disagree. But since he's gone, since the BBC got rid of him, apparently the figures, the viewing figures, have rocketed. They've gone up by what have we got here? Yeah, they're soaring. They're soaring. They've gone up from. Let's have a look at it. Yeah, 45.4 million views, 61.9 million views this season, 45.4 million views last season. To be fair, the BBC has come up with a digital strategy. They're putting more and more clips out. But this does prove, doesn't it? Gary Lineker, not Gary Lineker, doesn't really matter, does it?
So that's emphatically true, Kevin, and you're right to give us that note of caution on the figures. What the BBC are now doing is to release highlights on the BBC iPlayer at 8 o'clock. So they're proving to be very popular. The number of people actually tuning in to Match of the Day was on about 10:30 p.m. That has gone down since Gary Lineker left, but it was going down season on season anyway. So we don't know what it would have been if Lineker had stayed. And I mean, I think you can derive from this, can't you, that it's hard to work out why Gary Lineker was worth well north of £1 million a year of licence fee payers' money. You're right. People basically want to watch the football. If you want to watch in-depth punditry, real experts chewing through a particular match or a particular incident in a match of the day isn't a long enough programme to get that. So you basically get 2 or 3 people sitting around as if they're at the 19th hole on a golf course, enjoying some jolly japes and in jokes with each other, rather than actually going through the details of a game. So it's neither fish nor fowl match of the day, really. I don't think it's sufficiently in depth for complete football nerds like you and me, Kevin, but it's also breaks up the highlights, and probably most viewers would like to see a bit more football and a bit less chit chat from former players.
Yeah, and I was trying to garble the statistics there. Let's get them right here. Basically, because of the combined viewing figures for Match of the Day on iPlayer covering the evening programmes and highlight clips had risen to 61.9 million by the end of December, and that's a big increase on the 45.4 million views from the same period last year when Gary Lineker was at the helm. The digital consumption for Match of the Day has almost doubled since the 22-23 season, when the total was just 33.1 million. So the new way of viewing, this isn't just, it's just the digital. This is the new way people watch all forms of television, but particularly sport. Match of the Day under this system is absolutely rocketing, proving once again, to go back to this point, as I say, Gary Lineker was a perfectly good presenter, quite a good presenter. But I think to the average football fan, he was neither here nor there, and proving that he was never worth. What were they paying him at 1.3 million pounds a year?
£3 million a year.
Yeah, the highest paid BBC presenter by a mile. They were mad to be paying him that much, weren't they?
I think that's right. And I think that's particularly right if you're the BBC. I mean, whether it's sport or news presenters or pretty much anything else, really, I'd quite like the BBC, if it really is serious about being a public service broadcaster, to be the place where people launch their careers, but then if they're successful or have got a bit of experience under their belt, they go off to the private sector. It shouldn't be the BBC's job to be paying bumper salaries. If Gary Lineker can command £1 million north of that in the private sector, good luck to him, and I'm sure he can. You know, his podcasts and all that sort of stuff do well. But the idea that it's a licence fee paid salary, I think that grates particularly. And you know what? Match of the Day, I think, is gonna have had its day before too long. When I was a kid, that was pretty much the only way you could watch football. There were very, very few matches on television each year. Last night, you could watch every single Champions League game on television. Tonight, every Europa League game. I mean, we know a majority of Premier League games are on the television. When there isn't football on, there's football punditry on. So really, Match of the Day is becoming football for people who don't much like football. Maybe want an hour or so on a Saturday night.
And they've now got Mark Chapman, Gabby Logan and Kelly Cates sharing the presenting duties. Good luck to them.
I mean, a lot cheaper than Gary Lineker.
The three of them put together are a lot cheaper than Gary. Good luck to them. But as you say, I think that form of watching football that we all grew up with is dying a death. Got the streaming services coming in now, Amazon, Netflix, so, I think Match of the Day pretty soon might have the whistle blown on it, as they say in football. Who have Southampton got this weekend, Mark?
We've got Stoke City away, so a game of true mid-table mediocrity. But, it's exciting down in the Championship. You never know who's going to win and who's going to blow up.
Tell me about it.
A lot more unpredictable than the Premier League. So, you know what? I don't mind the Saints staying down for another season.
Yeah, no, it is I like the Championship. I'm not sure. I actually did several times go away to Stoke for a Championship thriller against Fulham. I don't recommend that journey. I really don't. But Mark, great to talk to you. Mark Littlewood, Director of Popular Conservatism, Southampton fan, on the fact that Gary Lineker, why did they ever pay him that much money? It really wasn't worth it. It's our money as well. Licence play money. Unbelievable. Now, let's go to break. When we come back, we'll talk to Will Barker, Deputy Head of News at The Sun, about what is in the pages of Britain's favourite newspaper tomorrow. That next. Stick around.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Deputy Head of News at The Sun, Will Barker, is in the studio. Welcome, Will.
Hi.
We're going to go through some of the top stories in The Sun tomorrow. Hooked on violence. Schoolboy hooked on creating misery has admitted murdering a lad of 12 as he walked home from school. This is really
it's a horrible
sad,
story.
isn't it?
Horrible story. So, yeah, it happened about this time last year. He was just walking home from school. I think he had a rucksack. He was just sort of sauntering back through this park and just bumped into this lad who we don't know who this guy is at the moment, so we don't know the background to it, but it's this lad who was on this orgy of violence over sort of several days. He'd been picking on old women, beating them up, I think 3 all told, and he nicked a knife from his kitchen, walked up to Leo, one jab in the stomach and killed him. It's just awful.
Yeah, you know, this kind of sticks in your throat, doesn't it? The killer cannot be named because he's 15, so he's protected. This guy, as Will just said, he did this for fun. He took such a sick pleasure in his crime that he stayed at the scene gawping as paramedics tried to save poor little Leo's life. Stabbed him once in the stomach and then rang the police claiming he had come across the body. I think we should be able to name these little
Well, we're kind of hoping, I think there'll be a sort of a groundswell of sort of push to get him named in the sentence, but it'll be up to the judge when that happens.
Yeah, I'm sure the judge will, because they're starting to do this.
Yeah.
Can't protect this sort of person.
No, no. Well, we just need to understand what's gone on in his head. I mean, there's clearly something switched.
Very.
And he's just gone crazy.
Very sick individual. So shocking, sad story. Poor little Leo. Awful. Did it just for fun. Enter the Dragon. Sir Keir Starmer has risked fresh controversy after opening the door to hosting strongman ruler Xi Jinping in Britain. So Xi Jinping could be on the way here?
This is what they are kind of signalling to us. So Jack Elsom, political editor, has gone out to Beijing with Keir. Keir had this 3-hour sit down with him. Various things were discussed. I think they've sort of loosened some visas. They've changed the taxes on whiskey, this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Nothing earth-shattering, and they're now kind of suggesting that they're, opening the door to the fact that you might come over, which has sort of shocked. Like Kemi is very shocked by this. She's kind of hit out that we seem to be kowtowing to this man who, part of a nation that's continually spying on us.
I'll tell you what, this harks back to Cameron and Osborne, doesn't it? They tried to thaw the relationship with China. Do you remember Cameron drinking pints with the Chinese delegation? This is another one of Sir Keir's resets. That he wants to reset our relationship with China. Whoever asked him to do that? Very frightening, very frightening. This is more up my street.
Yeah, exactly.
Cream egghead. Tell me about that.
There's a lot of grim around today, so I just thought there's a couple of sort of more light-hearted and fun stories. But there's a guy who's gone on TikTok. He's been working in a shop for years, and he used to hate putting the barcodes of Cadbury's cream eggs because presumably they're rounded. You go and put in the barcode and it doesn't work.
Well, I hate it when that happens.
Really hate it. He's been bane of his life. So he came up with the idea, why didn't he just get a tattoo? So every time you have to go and scan the cream, he has to just do that.
You're serious? God almighty.
So yeah, he's got a tattoo of a cream egg bar.
I think these people were just born to help the sun, weren't they? I mean, really. What's this one about? Will you marry Mean?
Yeah, so this is another one. So we've got Valentine's Day's around the corner, and Asda have sort of there's a bit of a price war over engagement rings. But you think that maybe if you've met a man and he's buying you a 96p engagement ring, then maybe the marriage might not be the best. Because this is in response to the Poundland offering a £1 engagement ring. They've gone even lower. And
well, ladies, if you're out there, let me know. Would you marry a man? Would you get engaged to a man who presented you with an engagement ring worth 96p? 03444 99 1000. That's why my wife agreed to marry me, because The engagement ring I bought her cost me £1.50.
Hey.
Well over £1. Will Barker, Deputy Head of News at The Sun. Great. Sounds like a fun edition of our favourite newspaper tomorrow. Let's go to break. When we come back, you have the floor. Give us a call, 03444991000. I will talk to you. I will read your messages. I will, if we've got any, play you some WhatsApp voice notes. But mainly, let's talk. It's good to talk on Talk. 03444991000. That next. Stay tuned. Muslims, the 12 million Uyghur Muslims who are the victims of the most appalling human rights abuse. And that is just the beginning in China. We know what kind of a country is it. Do you trust our Prime Minister to raise that issue with the Chinese leader?
Well, I think we've learned from 18 very punishing months that you can't trust this Prime Minister to negotiate a Chinese restaurant menu, let alone a trade deal or any other deal with the hardline communists.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Interesting text from Tracy in Chingford talking about that guy, the convicted terrorist who went to jail in Yemen. She's saying not only should this convicted terrorist not be able to stand in an election, but surely he should not have been allowed into our country. Well, for all I know, we'll have to check this out. It's a very good point. But for all I know, all we know, he's British. You know, who knows? So we better check that out. But that is interesting. And I know that if you've got a serious conviction to your name, you can't stand as an MP, a potential MP, a candidate in a general election. But I don't know about local council elections. And also, convictions abroad, I assume, don't count here. It's an interesting point by Tracy there. A couple of voice notes. This is Elaine on the Birmingham issue.
I was just listening to your show and I thought it was absolutely disgusting with those Muslims. My grandfather died in World War II. He was on the Kinder train. Everything about this country is just disgusting. Thanks, great show.
Thank you, Elaine. Yeah, I do think that something's going on here and we ought to be worried. There are forces afoot that kind of want to take this country over, and we have a government that's allowing that to happen. This is Helen on engagement ring prices.
The point of an engagement ring was supposed to be, I believe, that it costs you X amount of your wages, and if you're only going to pay like 99p pence, as my mum used to insist it's called, well, you know what, then I think you're going to know what the result of that's going to be.
Thank you, Helen. Yeah, absolutely. Let's take some calls. Alex Phillips will be in straight after the news to present my show, The Political Asylum, from 7 until 10 p.m. So you won't want to miss that. Good old Alex. What a show she always presents. Let's go first to Sue in London. Hello, Sue.
Hello, Kev. How are you doing?
I'm all right. What would you like to say? I've got a message here from you saying, or that I've been given. It says, I'm a Jew. There is no Zionist lobby. What do you mean by that?
So what is it? You know, I've been out shopping and I get in the car, talk radio's always on, and I hear Zionist lobby this, this man going on about Zionist lobby this, Zionist lobby, the Zionist lobby this. Can somebody please tell me what the Zionist lobby is? Because I am a Jew. I live in London. My grandma was from Birmingham. A lot of her family is still in Birmingham. There are Jews there as well.
Yeah.
And I you know, I know we have the Board of Deputies. They're not that's not a Zionist lobby of any kind. They just act for Jewish people. If these Muslim wannabe councillors keep going on about the Zionist lobby, why can't, I mean, they can't tell the truth. There's no such thing as the Zionist lobby. I think that's an absolute load of bull.
I agree with you.
You know, why can't they just call a spade a spade? We hate the Jews. You know, if they just say it, then we know where we stand.
Yeah.
They won't. They hide behind this. They hide behind this cover of the Zionists, and they think that if they say it enough times, that it becomes true. Well, it doesn't. And it was all well and good. I mean, you're laughing at it, but you know, I'm a Jew living in this country.
No,
and actually,
Sue, I'm really not laughing at it.
No, you weren't laughing. You were laughing at them. I know you were.
I was laughing at some of the extraordinary things they say. Can I just say one thing? You know, what I find strange about these people and all these sort of left-wingers that work at the BBC and all that, they go, "You're a Zionist," as if that's an insult. And I go, "Yeah, I'm a proud Zionist. It's not an insult to me." Same as those guys. What's wrong with Zionism? The right of the Jewish people to have their own state. The way they think that is an insult is extraordinary to me.
Yeah. Well, that's it. It's extraordinary to me too. But I sat in the car and there were tears trickling down my face because I just thought, oh my God, this is where we are now. They believe it so passionately.
Yeah.
The pair of them were just yelling it. Like, the more we say it, the more it's true.
Yeah.
And how I need to hear more people coming out. Thank God we have people calling in to talk radio. Saying
well, that's why I did it,
it's a load
Sue.
of rubbish.
That's why I talked to them, because I believe they're engaged in the process of Islamifying Birmingham. 60 what they call independent councillors. They say they're not all Muslims. I bet you 59 of them are. But listen,
can I just say,
very quickly,
I phoned up. But when I phoned up to try and get tickets for that football match, I'm not really interested in football. But I'm honest. But I phoned up, and the person on the phone said, I phoned the stadium to try and get tickets, and they said, and they said, who are you coming to support? And I said, Maccabi Tel Aviv.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, we're not allowed to sell tickets to Jews.
God, that's Aston Villa. That's just disgraceful. Listen, Sue, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I've got to move. The show's almost over. But really good to talk to you. Thank you very much for an excellent call. Let's go to Herbie in Harrow. Herbie in Harrow. Let's talk to Herbie in Harrow. Hi, Herbie.
Have you got me, Kevin, for something? You're struggling there. Kevin, regarding this government and the army that...
You were in Iraq, Herbie. Did you serve there? I didn't know that.
No, I didn't serve there. I was there 6 days before the war.
Oh, okay.
And I met one of the ministers, you know, Saddam Hussein's ministers, and I was with him for over an hour in Commodore Ali's palace, you know, office block, and he explained to me exactly what was going on. And I came back and I said, we're unleashing the mad dogs. We don't need to go to war. When you start to talk to people, they tell you the facts of exactly what happened. You begin to realise what's going on. And I think Keir Starmer needs to realise that it was our friend that sent us out to war in the first place.
Yeah,
you know, so
absolutely. Yeah, you know, this guy, as I say, I think it's a very valid question. Does our Prime Minister actually have Britain's national interests at heart? He didn't used to. He gave his services free to help the witch hunt against British veteran soldiers who served in Iraq, to try to prosecute them on trumped up charges of war crimes. Now, he didn't know they were trumped up, to be fair to him, but we know where his heart lay. It wasn't with us. He wanted to prosecute people who served their country, and I think that's extremely worrying of a Prime Minister of this country. Herbie, always good to talk to you. Thanks, mate. Good call. Let's go to Jill in Cornwall, shall we? Jill, what would you like to say? Hi.
Kevin, I'm finding it so difficult to keep calm about a situation that I feel that we as a country, it doesn't matter where we are, we should be supporting everything that is against the things that are making this country the way it is.
Yeah.
You know, these asylum seekers, or whatever you want to call them, illegals as far as I'm concerned, wherever they're moving into, then I should be able to support their people who are trying to stop this from happening up where they are.
I mean, it's just ridiculous, isn't it? You got a young mum, Shana, that I spoke to earlier. Yeah. She's got 6 children, 2 of them in secondary schools, local schools in Crowborough, 4 of them at primary schools, and she's taken them all out of school because she's terrified of what might happen to her children when 540 young men from foreign countries, many of whom can't even speak English, they've got nothing to do, they'll just hang around on street corners. She's terrified, and so are many other parents there.
Well,
what the hell does this government think it's doing to these benighted communities?
The biggest enemy of this country is our Prime Minister. I'm sorry. I don't care if he likes what I say. He probably doesn't even listen. But that's because
he's famous for that.
Listen. Yeah, because he doesn't listen, that the country's in the state it is. But I don't believe that he has good planned for this country and the people of this country.
I think that this is a serious narrative that I think we must pursue. Not so long ago, in the mid-noughties, our future Prime Minister was involved in a witch hunt, in a campaign to historically prosecute our soldiers who served in Iraq of war crimes. Now, those war crimes turned out to be completely trumped up by an awful, lying toad of a solicitor called Philip Shiner, who was convicted of fraud and was struck off as a lawyer. I'm not saying Keir Starmer knew about this guy's nefarious methods, because he was paying people to make stories up. But the Prime Minister, or the future Prime Minister, offered his services to this campaign. He was so keen on it, he offered his services for free. That's worrying to me, Jill.
Yes, it is. It is. And I'm sorry, it doesn't matter whatever we look into when it comes to Keir Starmer and his background and his work as a solicitor, if you want to call it a solicitor, I don't. But if you look into the things that he has been involved with over the years, he means nothing good for this country. Nothing.
He doesn't like it. It's oikophobia. That's my word of the day. It means someone who despises their own country, their own culture, their own society. Does Keir Starmer suffer from oikophobia? I suspect he does. Jill, it's always good to talk to you. Thank you for another excellent call. A couple of messages here. Adam talking about the political earthquake threatened by our Muslim friends earlier. A political earthquake. Oh my God, Kevin, you're a brave man. No, I'm not. But thank you, Adam. This is Bob talking about our bus driver hero. I bet the managers in the bus driver's case are a bunch of Green, Labour, Liberal lefties who would do nothing to help anyone. I bet they are, Bob. Let's quickly talk to Robert in Hertfordshire. Hi, Robert. You spent 35 quid on an engagement ring in 1971. Even then, I would suggest, Robert, that's not much.
Actually, I was an apprentice. It took me a year to pay it off.
Oh, well, that is different. That is different, you know. That is different.
The second part to that story, I've just checked the facts with my wife, and she said, no, you went and bought a guitar with the original money. It's obviously me too.
Yeah, but but to be serious for a second, if £35 was a hell of a lot of money to you, then that's the gift of love. If someone, as we learnt from our friend at the Sun earlier, spent 96p today on the engagement ring, that's not really a gift of love, is it?
No, but I mean, back in the day, a lot of people used to go in Woolworths and buy a cheap wedding ring, plastic wedding ring for 25.
25p or whatever it was then, £5 bob.
Then go on a dirty weekend down the coast.
There you go. That's a good use of money. That's a good use of money. So get yourself a plastic engagement ring and use the rest of the money to nip down to Brighton for a dirty weekend. I'm hip to that. Robert, thank you. Great call. Robert in Hertfordshire. And she's in the studio. It's Alex Phillips. Alex, What would you think is a reasonable price for, say, a suitor of yours who wanted to get engaged to you? How much would you expect them to spend on an engagement ring?
I'm going to really disappoint you here because I don't care for jewellery. I don't wear it, I don't care for it. So I don't care. They could just literally just give me like one of those things that keeps a bit of bread fresh.
Suppose I was going to get engaged to you. God, what a prospect that might be.
How much have you got?
A couple, wouldn't
How much have you got in the bank? Because I don't think you've got that long left on this planet. I could do quite well.
If I gave you, said, here we go, Alex, here's your engagement ring, 96p, you wouldn't like it, would you?
I wouldn't care. I actually think that was quite a savvy. Like I said,
you'd just be worried about your fiancé.
I'm so disappointing when it comes to this stuff. When I was just in Egypt, then we were sort of dragged around this sort of gold shop, and they came up to me and was like, "Oh, lady," and I was like, "You're speaking to the wrong person."
I'm not a jewellery person.
I don't do jewellery. I don't care.
No, well, you and me both. What's on your show?
We're going to be talking about why Reform are just so litigious. They love it. Reporting people to the police, getting people sued. We're going to be analysing.
Are they going for the Tories